Chapter 436. The metal ball did not look big from the outside, but there was another world inside. As soon as Xia Pingan entered it, he found that it was extremely large. There were pavilions, terraces, gardens, and waterside pavilions. There were many courtyards inside, just like the courtyard of a wealthy family. The place where they appeared was the square at the entrance of the courtyard. The surrounding area was quite spacious, with arched doors and corridors leading to different courtyards. Except for Xia Pingan, the others entered through an empty door one after another. As soon as they passed through the empty door, their belongings, elixirs, weapons, and red-crowned crane everlasting lanterns all flew out. They could not hide anything even if they wanted to. The people of Wan Shun's sect had also obtained hundreds of red-crowned crane everlasting lanterns. In addition to these everlasting lanterns, only the people involved knew whether they had gained anything else after entering the Divine Palace. Ahem. Elderly, I have a lot of things in my space teleportation equipment. Don't need to pass through the empty door, too? Xia Pingan asked cleverly. Elderly glanced at Xia Pingan and calmly shook his head. No, you're not a member of Wan Shun's sect in this exploration of the land of the fallen gods, so you don't need to check. In fact, Elderly thought that no matter how lucky Xia Pingan was, it was impossible for him to obtain 2 fragments of divine tools in the palace. Previously, Xia Pingan had given the fragment to immortal Xia Pingan, and immortal Mingi had acknowledged it in public. At this time, it was useless to say anything. If he were to be rude to Xia Pingan, he would appear to be stingy. Therefore, he simply ignored it. However, in his heart, Elderly thought highly of Xia Pingan's character and secretly admired him. Ahem, in addition to that everlasting lantern, I've also obtained some other everlasting lanterns. I'll give them to Wan Shun's sect. Elderly, please check them. I've done my part. Xia Pingan was very thick-skinned, or rather, he had a good attitude. As he spoke, he waved his hand and took out dozens of red-crowned crane everlasting lanterns and put them aside. This was a contribution to Wan Shun's sect, so others had nothing to say. Elderly waved his hand and put away all the everlasting lanterns. Of course, he had ways to check whether there were any other strange items or fragments of divine tools in the everlasting lanterns. Elder, we've encountered an accident in the land of the fallen gods. We tried our best, but those huge snakes have been killed. But we didn't use the method that we discussed before to deal with them. Are we still able to integrate the realm beads of sage masters? Gu asked shamelessly when he saw Elderly. Chu Yitong and the others also looked at Elderly. As summoners, the reason why they were willing to take the risk to participate in this mission was because of the conditions promised by Wan Shun's sect. I have to report to the sect about this accident, so we'll talk about it when we get back to Immortal City. Don't worry, Wan Shun's sect won't let those who work for the sect suffer. Elderly replied calmly, comforting everyone. Then, with a wave of his hand, he gave Xia Pingan a key and pointed to a courtyard not far away. Long Huan, you can stay in the Celestial Rain Garden. The house there is still empty. Rest here for 5 days, and we will reach the Immortal City. Everyone is a little tired these days, so rest well here. Okay. Xia Pingan took the key. Elderly didn't say anything else. He walked directly to the courtyard in front, closed the door, and disappeared in front of everyone. Chu Yitong glanced at everyone and said in a low voice, "The sect has a gag order for this mission. Everyone is not allowed to talk about it when we get back. If anyone asks about Junior Fan, just say that you don't know. Those who can join the 10,000 Gods sect should be mentally prepared for this kind of thing." Hong Indeo shook his head and smiled bitterly. The road to becoming a god is not so easy. All the resources are obtained with blood, sweat, and life. I'm not thinking about becoming a god. Gu Yilong looked around and sighed. I just want to reach the energy-shaping realm. I'll be satisfied. As long as I leave the god-slaying bug world, energy-shaping realm experts are the top figures everywhere. I'm not satisfied with the reflection realm. All right, Junior Long, to be honest, I admire you. You actually took out the divine weapon fragment. If you had thought of a way to fool Lord Ming He and then handed the divine weapon fragment to Wan Shun's sect, you wouldn't have to worry about cultivation resources in the future. Since I've already made a promise, I can't go back on my words. I can't forget about the benefits. Even if I can reach the divine focus realm in the future, what's the point? Guyulong directly gave Xia Pingon a thumbs up. All right, Junior Long. How did you find out that the crane altar lamp was a divine weapon fragment? Chu Yitong asked. This question had been on everyone's mind for a long time. Xiao Pingon scratched his head honestly. I don't know either. When I saw that everyone was searching for something in the palace, I wandered around casually. When I arrived there, I found those immortal crane eternal bright lanterns were very delicate. Therefore, I prepared to take a look at one of them. Unexpectedly, that immortal crane eternal bright lantern was a bit special. Was it also a coincidence that Junior Long obtained the soul-splitting secret technique to refine soul weapons? Guyulong looked envious. Well, it's about the same. I was just walking around, and somehow I found it. It seems that Junior Long is very lucky. Others can't learn it even if they want to. Hong and Ao looked at Xia Pingon enviously and sighed. All right, everyone is tired these days. Let's go back and rest. Chu Yitong said as he turned around and walked toward the courtyard. After staying in the fallen godland for 7 days, everyone was indeed tired. After hearing Chu Yitong's words, everyone went their own ways. Xiao Pingon took the key and walked toward the corridor that Elderly had pointed out. After a few minutes, he arrived outside a courtyard. There was a garden outside the courtyard. The garden was filled with plum blossoms, and there was a rockery with flowing water. It was very quiet and secluded. Xiao Pingon looked at the words Celestial Rain Garden hanging above the entrance of the courtyard. He opened the door with the key and entered the courtyard directly. As soon as he entered, the courtyard door automatically closed. The courtyard occupied an area of 2 to 3 mu. Xiao Pingon lived here alone. There was a secret room, a bedroom, a hall, and a small courtyard in the courtyard. Besides Xiao Pingon, there were a few wooden puppets in the courtyard. When Xiao Pingon entered, the 2 wooden puppets in the courtyard started to get busy. They made tea for Xiao Pingon. Xiao Pingon released Child of Fortune and summoned the Black Dragon. He walked around the courtyard and didn't find anything strange. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Ever since he met True Monarch Styx River, he had been through a lot. However, he had gained a lot. After drinking 2 cups of tea, Xiao Pingon looked at the wooden puppets that swayed as they walked. He thought of the book Kunlun Array Mechanisms Collection that Zhuge Liang had given him. In any case, he still had to stay here for 5 days. Since he had nothing to do, he might as well study array mechanisms. As soon as this idea popped up, Xiao Pingon couldn't sit still. He put down his teacup and went to the secret room. He rubbed his hands and started to prepare. Array formations were very useful. Let's start with array formations. Array formations weren't illusory things. For an array formation master, mountains, rivers, constellations, even a few stones, flowers, trees, and soldiers could be used to set up array formations. Zhuge Liang's 8-front formation used mountains, rivers, and stones to set up array formations. However, to a summoner, an array set up using the terrain of the mountains and rivers was a fixed array. A fixed array could not be taken away. It was like a fixed asset that could only be used to guard important places such as sects, secret realms, cities, and secret residences. Summoners liked array discs the most. Array discs were living arrays that could be carried around. When needed, they could be taken out. It was simple, efficient, and could be used repeatedly. Xiao Pingon recalled the knowledge he had grasped in his mind and began to refine his first array disc. For a summoner, refining an array disc was a bit like making a special sand table model. The sand table model could be ever-changing, including mountains, rivers, and the universe. It was the same for an array disc. An array disc was actually a miniature array world. The most common metals used to make array discs were gold, silver, and copper. Of course, iron could also be used. However, most array formation masters would choose gold, silver, and copper as the base material of the array disc. Some array formation masters would choose more special metals, or add some gems, or even poisons. This also made the array discs refined by different array formation masters have ever-changing characteristics. Xiao Pingon used gold. He still had a lot of gold coins in his space warehouse. Xiao Pingan took out a pile of gold coins and placed them on the table in front of him. Then, he made a series of hand gestures. The gold coins on the table slowly floated up under the guidance of his hands. Then, they were surrounded by a scorching flame. In the scorching flame, the gold coins gradually turned into a liquid and turned into a ball the size of a lead ball. Then, the ball slowly flattened and gradually turned into a disc. As Xia Pingan continued to make hand gestures, the disc also kept changing shape. Half an hour later, the golden disc had completely cooled down. The disc was covered with mysterious array patterns that looked like a Tai Chi diagram. There were also 2 special grooves in the array patterns. Xiao Pingan picked up the disc and looked at it. He found that the disc didn't have any major problems, except that it didn't look delicate enough and was slightly rough. After all, it was understandable that it was his first time refining an array disc. This disc wasn't an array disc. It was just an embryonic form of an array disc. It was an embryonic form of an array disc. For this embryonic form, Xiao Pingan used the most common embryonic form of the yin-yang 2 forms array. After placing the embryonic form, Xiao Pingan took out a handful of gold coins and began to make hand gestures to smelt them. After a while, the gold coins turned into liquid again. The liquid turned into 2 small golden swords. After the hand gestures were finished and the disc cooled down, Xiao Pingan obtained 2 small golden swords that were more than 2 inches long. Looking at them carefully, the small golden swords were densely covered with array patterns that were difficult for others to understand. These 2 small swords were the array tools of the array disc. Xiao Pingan inserted the 2 small golden swords into the grooves of the embryonic form of the array disc. With 2 clicks, the 2 swords fit perfectly. As soon as the 2 small swords were inserted, the embryonic form of the array disc slowly rotated as if it had a life of its own. The combination of the embryonic form of the array tool only formed the base of the array disc. Of course, this wasn't the end. An array disc wasn't that easy to refine. Although Xiao Pingan wanted to refine the simplest array disc of the yin-yang sword array as practice, there was still a lot of work to be done. The most important thing was the arrangement of the array eye in the array door. As Xiao Pingan made a hand gesture, the array disc suddenly floated up. The 2 small swords flew out of the array disc and revolved around the embryonic form of the array disc like 2 fish in a Tai Chi diagram. Xiao Pingan's hands made a series of hand gestures. Every 10 minutes or so, he inserted balls of colorful divine power array patterns into the array disc. As Xiao Pingan inserted the patterns, the array disc flashed and grew bigger and bigger. Gradually, it became as big as a millstone and rotated above Xiao Pingan's head. One day later, as Xiao Pingan inserted the last array pattern, the array disc suddenly emitted a golden light. Success! Xiao Pingan was overjoyed, but his joy didn't last for more than 3 seconds. Xiao Pingan found that the first array disc he had refined began to shake violently. The array patterns in the array disc began to melt, and the spatial energy in the secret room, which was affected by the array disc, began to become chaotic and irritable. Not good. Xiao Pingan quickly summoned a water shield to protect himself. Boom! With a loud sound, the first array disc that Xiao Pingan had made exploded. Smoke curled up, and countless golden fragments scattered in all directions like bullets. Xiao Pingan's face was covered in dust. The first array disc had failed. Fortunately, the secret room was surrounded by iron walls. It had considered all kinds of situations and had a strong protective ability. The destruction of the array disc didn't cause much damage to the secret room. However, Xiao Pingan was not discouraged. When everything in the secret room calmed down, he collected all the scattered fragments of the array disc and put them in front of his table. He put all the fragments together and reassembled them into the shape of the previous array disc. He began to analyze and study it bit by bit to see where the problem was. A few hours later, Xiao Pingan had a thoughtful look on his face. I was inexperienced when inserting the array pattern. The array pattern was a little squeezed and deformed, and finally melted After thinking for a moment, he pinched his fingers, and the broken golden fragments once again floated in the air and began to be interrogated by the flames. Xiaopinggan began to refine the array embryo again. A moment later, a new array embryo was refined. Compared to the previous one, it looked much more exquisite. After a while, 2 small golden swords were refined and inserted into the array embryo again. Another day passed, and the golden light in the secret room once again flourished. The table-sized disc array finally spun in the air and turned into a golden light that steadily fell into Xiaopinggan's palm, shrinking to the size of his palm. Looking at the array disc in his hand, Xiaopinggan laughed loudly. The first array disc of the yin-yang sword array that he had refined was completed. Xiaopinggan held the array disc and was happy for a while. He then said to himself, "If I add flames and icicles to the yin-yang sword array, the damage should be greater. But in this way, the previous array embryo needs to be adjusted a little and new array pattern needs to be added. Well, I could give it a try." After thinking about it in his mind, Xiaopinggan put the completed array disc into his interspatial equipment and then took out a pile of gold coins to refine a new array embryo. The dragon-slaying assassin broke the icicles, and his body dashed forward again. The golden longsword fiercely shot out with the sound of wind and thunder. The dragon-slaying assassin's body was like a dragon, and he dodged it again. However, when he landed, he didn't notice the other sword shooting at him. His right foot was cut off, and his agility was greatly affected. In the end, the dragon-slaying assassin persisted in the flames and icicles for another 30 seconds. Finally, his chest was pierced by a golden sword, and he dissipated. Xiaopinggan had already walked into the dense fog of flames and icicles. He took a step to the left and a step to the right. His body swayed as he walked in the dangerous fog, as if he was drunk. However, all the dangers always brushed past him. Even the 2 weird golden swords could not hurt him at all. After adding the mystifying formation, the upgraded yin and yang mystifying ice and fire sword formation is not bad. Its power has increased a little. It can even kill the dragon-slaying assassins. While there's still too few swords, its attack power is slightly insufficient. In the next version of the sword formation, I can get dozens of flying swords. Its power should be greater. After muttering to himself, Xiaopinggan revealed a smile on his face. He made a finger gesture and stretched out his hand to grasp in the void. The surrounding dense fog, ice, fire, and flying swords dissipated at once, turning into a palm-sized golden formation plate, which steadily fell on Xiaopinggan's hand. Xiaopinggan was still standing in the secret chamber. There was no fog around him, nor was there any wilderness. Everything that had happened just now had happened in this big array. When the array disc was put away, everything in the array had disappeared. Everything that had happened just now had happened in the secret chamber. Xiaopinggan left the bed where he had been meditating and only walked 5 steps. At this moment, the sound transmission bell in the secret room suddenly rang. The sound transmission bell could wake up people who were meditating or meditating. Then, Elder Li's voice was heard in the secret chamber. "We've arrived at the immortal city. Everyone, gather at the gate. We're going out. We've already arrived at the immortal city. These 5 days really passed quickly. I've just tried 2 or 3 formations and am still not satisfied." Xiaopinggan muttered in his heart. Without any delay, he directly walked out of the secret chamber and the courtyard and came to the gate of the courtyard where everyone had gathered before. When the 6 people had just arrived, the gate of Elder Li's courtyard opened, and Elder Li walked out of the courtyard. Xiaopinggan looked at Elder Li. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that there seemed to be a trace of unconcealable joy on Elder Li's face. Could it be that among the things that everyone brought back, there were still some valuable treasures? Elder Li came to the front of the crowd and nodded to them. He stretched out his hand and pushed open the gate of the courtyard, revealing an exit. Outside the exit, it was pitch black. They could vaguely see some lights. Judging from his style, it was obviously the underground immortal city. Elderly was the first to walk out of the exit. Chu Yidong followed behind Elderly. Xiao Pingon followed behind the others and walked out together. Once they walked out, Xiao Pingon realized that there was a huge hall outside. Judging from the style, it seemed to be the Hall of Affairs of the Immortal City. The metal ball that everyone had entered was floating in a pool in the middle of the hall. A silver pontoon bridge extended from the pool. Once everyone walked out of the metal ball, they walked onto the pontoon bridge. 2 rows of red-robed deacons and a blue-robed manager of the Immortal City stood on both sides of the pool in the hall. They were respectfully welcoming Elderly's return. A blue-robed manager was already considered an impressive figure in the 10,000 Gods sect. Only those who were at least in the Eight Suns realm were qualified to become a blue-robed manager. The blue-robed manager, standing in front of the 2 rows of red-robed deacons, was a middle-aged man with a square face. He had light golden eyebrows and slanted eyes. He had a dignified face. Xiao Pingon had never seen him before. Xiao Pingon glanced at the red-robed deacons. His eyebrows twitched. Among the red-robed deacons, there was Liang Tian, whom he knew from before, and Deacon Ling, who had ordered his arrest. Both of them had a respectful look on their faces. Their eyes were slightly lowered, and their hands were crossed in front of their chests. Standing among the deacons, they didn't stand out at all. Seeing Elderly step out of the silver bridge, the red-robed deacons and the blue-robed deacon bowed to Elderly at the same time and said in unison, "Welcome, Elderly." When he was with True Monarch Styx River, Black Dragon Sect Master, and the others, Elderly didn't seem to be very special. However, when he returned here, Xiao Pingon realized that Elderly was simply awe-inspiring in the Immortal City. Walking down the pontoon, Elderly directly said to the blue-robed manager, "Manager Fu, he is Long Huan. Some time ago, the 9 sons of the Cloud Island came to the Immortal City to seek help because of him. I happened to meet him when I was out this time and brought him back. The 10,000 Gods sect is in urgent need of a soul master now. Bring Long Huan to be tested first. If he can refine a soul weapon, give him the treatment of an official disciple." Following Elder Li's words, everyone's gaze focused on Xiao Pingon's face. Manager Fu glanced at Xiao Pingon's face and nodded slightly. Then he directly said, "Liang Tian." Liang Tian took a step forward from the 2 rows of red-robed deacons. "Here, I'll leave Long Huan to you. Do as Elderly says." "Yes." Liang Tian directly walked in front of Xiao Pingon and nodded slightly. "Please follow me." At this moment, Liang Tian's attitude was much better than the first time Xiao Pingon met him. At least, he said the word please. Xiao Pingon didn't say anything. He just greeted Chu Yidong and the others and left the place behind Liang Tian. After walking for more than 10 meters, Xiao Pingon heard Elder Li's next words. This time, Chu Yitong and the others completed the mission well. Now, I've decided to officially give Chu Yitong, Hong Endeo, Gu Yulong, Chi Yu, and Gu Yuqing the treatment of an official disciple of the 10,000 Gods sect. The 5 of them will be rewarded with a Sage Master's Realm Pearl and a Blacksmith Master's Realm Pearl. Gu Yulong and Hong Endeo's grinning laughter came from behind. Xiao Pingon didn't turn back and only congratulated them in his heart. Liang Tian led Xiao Pingon through a side door and a corridor. When they came out of the main hall, their eyes suddenly widened. This was the glorious hall in front of the manager's hall of the Immortal City. The place they were at just now was the back of the manager's hall. The manager's hall was still bustling with noise and excitement. Disciples of various ranks of the 10,000 Gods sect were coming and going. It was exactly the same as when Xiao Pingon came here last time. Liang Tian didn't say much. He directly led Xiao Pingon up the stairs in the manager's hall. They directly went up to the 5th floor and came to a huge armor-like warehouse. There were various kinds of magic tools and soul tools in the display window of the warehouse. There were even some gunpowder weapons. As long as you could think of a weapon, you could find it here. Liang Tian directly led Xiao Pingon to a room. He asked Xiao Pingon to wait for a moment before he went out. Xiao Pingon waited for a while before Liang Tian entered the room. With a wave of his hand, 3 identical 2-handed swords were placed on the table in front of Xiao Pingon. Xiao Pingan only took a glance at the 3 two-handed swords and knew that they were all soul tools. However, from his point of view, the soul power injected into the 3 soul tools wasn't much. It was around 0.5 to 1 slash. Moreover, the soul power injected was somewhat heterogeneous and unevenly distributed. The refinement of the soul tools was also very rough and had many flaws. They didn't completely use soul power to stimulate and strengthen the effects of the magic tools. They could only be said to be barely usable. Compared to his 7-star sword whip, they were completely incomparable. Even if he closed his eyes and used his feet to refine it, it would still be slightly stronger. These are the 3 precious soul tools collected by the 10,000 Gods sect. Take a look and see what grade of soul tool you can refine. Liang Tian asked with a solemn face. Chapter 438. This, it's hard to say. Xiao Pingan touched the 3 soul tools and looked at Liang Tian with a sincere expression. I just grasped the method of refining soul tools before coming to the god-slaying insect world. One of the important goals of coming to the god-slaying insect world this time is to find a soul-anchoring pearl as a magic treasure to refine soul tools, to help me refine soul tools. I haven't refined soul tools before, so I don't know how far I can go. You haven't refined any soul tools before? No. Xiao Pingan shook his head but quickly added, but I feel that it won't be difficult for me to refine soul tools of this level. Are you able to refine soul tools now? Yes, I can. Xiao Pingan nodded. I understand. Liang Tian nodded and put away the 3 soul tools on the table. Wait here for a moment. After speaking, Liang Tian left the room. Xiao Pingan waited in the room. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, the door of the room was pushed open and Liang Tian and a summoner in a white robe walked in again. The summoner in a white robe was an official disciple of the Wanshan sect. The summoner in a white robe looked to be in his 30s. He was white and plump and looked a little simple and honest. However, those who could join the Wanshan sect were summoners who dared to risk their lives. The so-called simple and honest appearance might just be some kind of disguise. After the summoner in a white robe came in, he sized up Xiao Pingan and looked at Liang Tian with a hesitant expression. Deacon Liang, is he the sole master of the Wanshan sect you mentioned? Yes, it's him. There doesn't seem to be such a person in the Immortal City. This person seems to be an outer disciple. The summoner in a white robe was also very shrewd. Just by looking at Xiao Pingan's clothes and aura, he had already roughly determined Xiao Pingan's identity. He has just officially become an official disciple of Wanshan sect. Liang Tian frowned slightly. The white-robed summoner had a bitter look on his face as he begged. I've been preparing for 2 years just for the sake of crafting a soul armament. I've already made an appointment with Grandmaster Fire Crow, and he'll be able to craft a soul armament for me in half a year. It wouldn't be good if something were to happen at this time. I didn't know that Overseer Liang wanted him to craft a soul armament for me. I thought it was Grandmaster Ku who had just joined Undying City. How about you find someone else, Overseer Liang? I know that there are many people in Undying City who are ready to find a soul cultivator to craft a soul armament for them. Xiao Pingan didn't say anything and just glanced at the guy. This guy was lucky to have met him, but he still refused. He really didn't know what to do. Liang Tian frowned and his face darkened. He was clearly unhappy and his tone turned cold. All right, you can leave if you don't want to. I'll find someone else. Thank you. The guy shrunk his neck and forced a smile. He turned around and walked towards the door. Liang Tian's gaze made him feel uneasy. Just as he was about to reach the door, Liang Tian suddenly said coldly, I heard that the suicide cliff needs a few guards. I think you're quite suitable. You're also smart. After you go out, remember to report to the mission office. Go to the suicide cliff to train for a few years. I have high hopes for you. Hearing this, the guy who had already reached out to touch the door suddenly retracted his hand. He turned around and walked back. His expression had changed, and he looked righteous. Overseer Liang, I've already thought about it. Overseer Liang, it's my honor to ask this Grandmaster to craft a soul armament for me. This is a rare opportunity. I've joined Wanshan sect, and am prepared to sacrifice my personal interests for the sect. I'm not afraid, even if I fail. I'll just wait for 2 more years. Don't force yourself, Liang Tian said calmly. I'm not forcing myself. I'm not forcing myself. I'm more than happy. That guy had a face full of smiles as he directly bowed to Xia Pinggan. Master, please. Xia Pinggan looked at Liang Tian. Liang Tian nodded slightly. Xia Pinggan then said to the guy, Okay, what kind of soul armament do you want to craft? I want to refine a soul crossbow. That guy said as he moved his hand. Although he was somewhat reluctant, he still took out a bronze-colored magical crossbow and placed it in front of Xia Pinggan. It was a rapid-fire crossbow, and the body of the crossbow was an eagle. It looked mighty, and the eagle's wings were spread out. It was the crossbow arm. Together with the rapid-fire crossbow, there were 12 pitch-black crossbow bolts and a crossbow holder. Xia Pinggan used his divine power to examine it. This strong crossbow was a set with the 12 crossbow bolts. When the two were used together, it could make the crossbow bolts invisible, increase range, penetrate armor, and explode. With the support of these 4 effects, the bolts shot from the crossbow would become invisible as soon as they left the crossbow. They would be silent and hard for others to detect. Moreover, the range was more than 5,000 meters. After hitting the target, it would have the double effect of breaking armor and exploding. The armor-breaking effect of this magic tool could penetrate about 20 centimeters of steel plate, which was very terrifying. This magic tool was obviously a rare item. What kind of crossbow is this? This is an eagle-shot crossbow. It's a high-grade magical weapon, the guy said reluctantly. Don't move. Concentrate on the space between your eyebrows. I want to see how strong your divine soul is now. Can you split your soul? Xia Pinggan said. He took out the best quality soul anchoring pearl that true monarch Styx River gave him. He held in his hand and placed it near the guy's forehead. When this best quality soul anchoring pearl came out, the entire room flashed with the pearl's magnificent brilliance. A dense energy was emitted from the soul anchoring pearl. The entire room was dyed in a light blue color. Everyone in the room instantly calmed down and felt comfortable. Seeing this best quality soul anchoring pearl in Xia Pinggan's hand, Liang Tian and that guy were stunned. As the saying went, even if one had never eaten pork, they had seen pigs run. They naturally knew what was good for them. This kind of best quality soul anchoring pearl, it seemed that the few grandmasters in Immortal City did not even have it. This soul anchoring pearl was the attire of soul masters. It was like a blacksmith's hammer or a swordsman's sword. A swordsman holding a peerless sword, in everyone's eyes, should also be an elite. It was impossible for him to be mediocre. Therefore, when the soul anchoring pearl was taken out, Liang Tian and that guy were shocked. Liang Tian narrowed his eyes and sized up that best quality soul anchoring pearl. He then looked seriously at Xia Pinggan. Meanwhile, that guy was also shocked. He showed a hint of excitement on his face. He felt that the mission this time did not seem to be so bad. Under the illumination of the soul anchoring pearl, Xia Pinggan stretched out a finger and lightly pressed it between that guy's brows. He sensed for a moment. This guy's soul power was still all right. It was slightly more than before, probably a little more than the 8th severance. If he wanted to refine an ordinary soul tool, it was enough. Grandmaster, how is it? That guy asked nervously. Your divine sense has been nurtured quite well. It's already strong enough. You can use the soul dividing technique to refine a soul tool. Can you refine a soul tool now? Liang Tian asked directly from aside. Yes, it's up to you guys. Then refine it now. I'll stand guard here for you. As Liang Tian said this, he waved his hand and threw out a formation plate. Once the formation plate was thrown out, the original room suddenly became like a secret room of 100 square meters, isolating the outside world. Liang Tian stood at the side and watched. Xia Pinggan knew that Liang Tian wanted to confirm that he really had the ability to refine a soul tool. With him watching at the side, whether he could refine a soul tool or not, it was naturally impossible for him to fake it. Are you ready? Xia Pinggan asked that guy. That guy swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He glanced at Liang Tian and nodded fiercely. I'm ready. Then let's begin. Xiao threw out that top-grade soul anchoring pearl and formed a set of complicated secret technique hand seals. That soul anchoring pearl immediately hovered in the air above the two of them, releasing a light blue brilliance that enveloped the two of them in an instant. If Xiao wanted to refine a soul tool, it actually wasn't so troublesome, and he didn't need any soul anchoring pearl either. However, in order to not become the target of public criticism, he could only follow the routine of those ordinary soul masters. As he performed, he also made this refining process appear very fancy and complicated. He himself also worked very hard. The eagle shot placed in front of the two of them slowly floated up under Xiao hand seals. To refine a soul tool, you need the blood of your eyebrows. Xiao shouted. Then, he didn't hold back. He pointed at the guy's forehead with one hand, and a mouthful of blood the size of a thumb was drawn out from that guy's forehead. It floated in the air, releasing a red light. Hold the crossbow with both hands, and use your divine power to surround the crossbow. Xiao continued to order. That guy didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly raised both hands, held the crossbow, and used his divine power to completely envelop the eagle shot crossbow. Under the infusion of that person's divine power, the eagle shot crossbow was filled with that person's divine power. Calm your mind, don't act rashly, Xiao said, and his hands changed into complicated hand seals. Suddenly, he stretched out his right hand and used his right index finger to point at that person's forehead. As Xiao right hand left that person's forehead, a strand of golden light drifted out from that person's forehead. It was like a golden thread in a ball of silk. It was drawn out by Xiao finger, and more of it was drawn out. After a full half an hour, the strand of golden light that twined around Xiao finger had condensed into a ball the size of an apple. Moreover, that person's face could be vaguely seen in that golden light, and it gradually condensed into a human shape. On the side, Liang Tian watched without blinking his eyes. This was a real soul dividing technique used to refine soul tools. For a layman, this scene was extremely shocking. Fusion of God and blood, casting soul and condensing technique, fusion of man and weapon, nurturing weapon with God. Xiao randomly uttered the words that he made up. After making a few hand seals, that small golden man fused with that ball of blood in the air. Then, that ball of blood suddenly shone with golden light and directly dripped onto the eagle shot crossbow and was completely absorbed by the eagle shot crossbow. At this moment, the eagle shot crossbow seemed to have come alive. The eyes of the eagle on the eagle shot crossbow turned, and its gaze became sharper. It spread its wings and extended them outwards. The feathers on the crossbow even trembled and became dazzling. Then, that eagle shot crossbow turned into a blood-colored cocoon of light and wrapped that person up. At this moment, Xiao was already sweating profusely, but he still made secret hand seals towards that cocoon of light, causing that cocoon of light to constantly change colors, and the effect of sound and light was very good. After tossing and turning like this for half an hour, Xiao withdrew his hand, closed his eyes, and sat cross-legged in front of that cocoon of light, motionless. That soul anchoring pearl was still floating above their heads. Liang Tian was like a stone man, guarding by the side, and his expression was slightly nervous. Time passed very quickly in the secret room. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. After a day, Xiao opened his eyes, and the soul anchoring pearl silently fell into his hand. He stretched out his hand and lightly touched that cocoon of light. That cocoon of light instantly shattered, and that person was revealed. The eagle-shot crossbow was in that person's hand. The body of the crossbow was flashing with divine light, and the eagle's eyes were particularly sharp. Just from its appearance, it looked more powerful than before, and it was much stronger than before, as if it had a life of its own. That person also opened his eyes at once. He looked at the eagle-shot crossbow in his hand, closed his eyes, and felt it for a moment. His entire face was filled with excitement. Soul tool, it's really done. So strong, The range has doubled, and the armor-piercing ability is even stronger. I have a soul tool. I have a soul tool. That person was so happy that he shouted a few times, and his face was flushed red. Then he remembered something and quickly stood up and solemnly bowed to Xiao Pingan and gave a big bow. Guo Qing greets the Grandmaster. Many thanks to the Grandmaster for forging a soul tool for me. I will never forget this great kindness. It's good that you've refined it. Refining a soul tool is too tiring, and your soul is also somewhat exhausted. Remember to eat more pills to replenish your strength. Xiao Pingan pretended to be weak as he spoke, and after that, he half closed his eyes and swallowed 2 pills. Xiao Pingan pretended to be greatly exhausted, but in reality, he was completely fine. He had been using the soul anchoring pearl to nourish his soul force for the entire day. Not only was his soul force not exhausted, it was even slightly increased, and it was slightly solidified. Let me see your soul tool. Liang Tan, who had been standing to the side, finally spoke and then stretched out his hand. That guy called Guo Qing had a face full of reluctance, afraid that Liang Tian wouldn't return it after taking it. But he still gritted his teeth and handed over the soul tool, with a face full of smiles. Deacon Liang, this is my favorite. I haven't used it yet. Liang Tian took the eagle-shot crossbow, and just by feeling it, his heart jumped fiercely, and his face immediately became serious. Just by feeling, he realized that this eagle-shot crossbow was stronger than the best of the 3 soul tools he showed Xiao Pingan a day ago. The penetrating effect of this eagle-shot crossbow's bolt should be able to penetrate the mantis blade bug's armor and the layer of black fog's protection. This dragon illusion, this soul tool that Master Long made, was definitely of the highest quality in the Undying City. The best of the 3 soul tools just now was actually made by Master Huoya. Of course, that soul tool didn't represent Master Huoya's highest level of skill, but it was still a rare soul tool, which could explain a lot of things. Xiao Pingan had been secretly observing Liang Tian's reaction. When he saw the expression on Liang Tian's face, Xiao Pingan couldn't help but chuckle to himself. The amount of soul force Xiao Pingan had taken from Guo Qing was double when it came to crafting the eagle shot. The amount of soul force Xiao Pingan had taken from this soul armament was much more than the other soul armaments. The amount of soul force Xiao Pingan extracted from this soul armament was much purer than the other soul armaments. The amount of soul force Xiao Pingan extracted from this soul armament was much more even than the other soul armaments. Seeing the change in Liang Tian's expression as he held the eagle-shot crossbow, Guo Qing nervously swallowed his saliva. Taking 2 steps forward, he stared at the eagle-shot crossbow and quietly reminded, "Attendant Liang, my eagle-shot crossbow. I still have a use for your eagle-shot crossbow. I'll return it to you in 2 days. For now, let's go out and not disturb Master Long's rest." Liang Tian glanced at Guo Qing, and without waiting for Guo Qing to say anything, he grabbed Guo Qing's clothes and disappeared from the secret room in a flash. Xiao Pingan opened his eyes and smiled. He looked around the secret room and rubbed his chin. 5 elements, reversal formation, and a tortoiseshell formation. This is a good idea. With this kind of formation plate, I can turn any place into my own secret training room and prevent enemies from invading. When I have time, I'll make one as well. 10 minutes later, in a room on the highest floor of the Hall of Stewards of the Undying City, Steward Fu, who was wearing a blue robe, played with the eagle-shot crossbow in his hand. His face revealed a rare trace of seriousness as he praised. What a good soul tool. Was this refined by Long Huan? Liang Tian stood in front of Steward Fu with his hands by his side. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. Long Huan's character and ability are excellent. Our Wanshin sect must not miss such a great talent. Elder Li said softly from the side. It's been a long time since our immortal city's bloodline has shown our talents in the sect competition of the Myriad Gods sect. I think that Long Huan will have a bright future once he advances to the ethereal opening realm. If it weren't for the fact that his current strength is too weak, I would have brought him to the Myriad Gods domain. Elderly, don't worry, I understand. Steward Fu bowed and said, Amen. It's about time for me to leave. I'll leave Undying City to you. This time, the mission given by the sect is personally given by the sect master. You must seize it." Elder Lee's face turned serious, and he stood up. The situation at Wan Shun planet is getting more and more tense. The signs of space merging are becoming more and more obvious. Undying City must prepare early. Yes, when Long Huan advances to the ethereal opening realm, inform me. As Elderly spoke, his figure gradually began to fade. By the time he finished speaking, his figure had already disappeared from the room. "Farewell, Elder." Although Elderly had left, the two people in the room still bowed in the direction where Elderly had been. "Liang Tian, you will be Long Huan's commander steward in the future. When Long Huan recovers, bring him to collect the Realm Pearl and explain to him what he needs to do." Steward Fu turned his gaze to Liang Tian. "Yes." Chapter 439. Xia Pinggan didn't stay in the room for long. In less than half an hour, Liang Tian came back. With a flash of a figure, the secret room disappeared. Liang Tian put away the disc array and stood in front of Xia Pinggan. His attitude was much more amiable than before. "Master Long, please follow me." Xia Pinggan stood up. "Deacon Liang, don't be so polite, just call me Long Huan. By the way, where are we going now?" "I'll take you to complete the procedures to become an official disciple of the Wanshin sect and receive the Realm Pearl as a reward." "Receive the Realm Pearl?" Upon hearing this, Xia Pinggan was immediately energized. He followed Liang Tian and walked out of the door. "Deacon Liang, what Realm Pearl can I receive?" "You are now an official disciple of the Wanshin sect. According to the rules of the Wanshin sect, you can receive a Blacksmith Realm Pearl and a Sage Master Realm Pearl." Liang Tian explained as he walked. The Realm Pearls of these two professions are relatively rare and have greater effects. Therefore, they're the standard for official disciples of the Wan Shin sect. Sage Master Realm Pearl. The Sage Master Realm Pearl is finally here. And the Blacksmith Realm Pearl. Ha! Xiao Pinggan was excited and couldn't help but grin. The Sage Master Realm Pearl that he had been looking forward to for a long time had come. He didn't expect that the Sage Master Realm Pearl would come so easily. He didn't expect that a change in his identity as a Soul Master would allow him to become an official disciple of the Wan Shin sect in one step. He could finally enjoy the benefits of the Wan Shin sect. By the way, Deacon Liang, why does the Wan Shin sect have so many Sage Master Realm Pearls and Blacksmith Realm Pearls? They actually give one to every official disciple? This question had been in Xia Pinggan's heart for a long time. It's hard to see Sage Master Realm Pearls and Blacksmith Realm Pearls on the market because these Realm Pearls are monopolized by big forces, especially Sage Master Realm Pearls. There are two ways to obtain Sage Master Realm Pearls in the Wan Shin sect. The first way is that the disciples of the Wan Shin sect kill demons and hand them over to the sect. You will know this in the future. If you obtain rare Realm Pearls, like Sage Master Realm Pearls, and hand over to the sect, you'll get a lot of benefits. The second way, the Wan Shin sect has a Nether Passage Realm Divine Spring and several Divine Sense Crystal Veins. At this time, Liang Tian was not so cold. He had already treated Xia Pinggan as someone of equal status. Therefore, he explained it in detail. Nether Passage Realm? Divine Sense Crystal Veins? Xia Pinggan was shocked. He finally understood why the Wan Shin sect was so rich and overbearing. It turned out that they had such important resources. The significance of Nether Passage Realm Pearls and Divine Sense Crystals to summoners was self-evident. A summoner could not advance to the Nether Passage Realm without Nether Passage Realm Pearls. Many Realm Pearls could not be fused without Divine Sense Crystals. The fact that the Wan Shin sect had a Nether Passage Realm Pearls and several Divine Sense Crystal Veins was equivalent to having oil and iron or on Earth. These were strategic resources. It was impossible to not be awesome. With the Divine Spring in hand, the world was mine. Along the way, Xia Pinggan directly asked why the righteous Heaven 10,000 God sect was in such a hurry to recruit Soul Master disciples. To his knowledge, this was something that had never happened before. Soul Masters can refine soul tools. There are many high-level summoners in the Wan Shun sect, so they have a great demand for soul tools. Therefore, they directly gave us the treatment of a soul master disciple. This treatment is not free. In the future, you have to refine at least 10 soul tools for the Wan Shun sect every year. Can you do that? While speaking, Sage Master Realm Pearls turned to look at Xia Pingon. Not to mention 10 soul tools. Even 100 soul tools would not be a problem. For other summoners, this might consume a lot of their soul power. It was indeed a task that was neither light nor heavy. However, for Xia Pingon, he had mastered the most authentic method of refining soul tools. Refining soul tools for others would not consume any of his soul power. It would only consume a little time, so it was not a problem at all. Even if there was a consumption, he could make up for it by going into the spiritual realm and killing a few horseshoe pests. Xia Pingon breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. However, he felt that Sage Master Realm Pearls still had some reservations about him. He did not clearly explain the reason why the Wan Shun sect was in urgent need of soul masters. This was a very official statement. Those who joined the Wan Shun sect were naturally high-level summoners with aspirations. The demand for soul tools had always been there. Then why was the Wan Shun sect's demand for soul tools not as great as it was now? There must be a special reason. Now that he had just become an official disciple of the Wan Shun sect, he was probably not qualified to know some confidential information. Therefore, it was not convenient for Sage Master Realm Pearls to tell him too clearly. Well, 10 soul tools should not be a problem for me. I could do it if I work hard. Xia Pingon pretended to look dignified. But, other than that, are there any other requirements? Refining soul tools is your main task in the Wan Shun sect. Other than that, there are no other requirements. If there are any other tasks, they are based on the corresponding rewards. You are willing to participate. This is the treatment that the Wan Shun sect gives to soul master disciples. That's good, that's good. By the way, you have joined the Wan Shun sect now. Because your cultivation is only in the reflection realm, your identity is only a white-robed disciple. Your commander deacon is me. If there is anything in the future, I will contact you and arrange it. The commander deacon was equivalent to a contact person. Although the Wan Shun sect seemed loose, after becoming an official disciple, he would still be assigned to the circle of subordinates of a red-robed deacon. The red-robed deacon would be the commander deacon in the Wan Shun sect. The commander deacon's role was not a complete leader. It was equivalent to a combination of a convener, a person in charge, a counselor, and a homeroom teacher. After all, he was already a Sixth Sun Realm expert. It was impossible for any summoner to be a slave or a servant. If he advanced to the ethereal realm, he would have greater freedom of choice. He would not have to be a subordinate of a red-robed deacon. Anyone could become a red-robed deacon. As the two of them talked, Liang Tian directly brought Xia Pingon to a room on the second floor of the Hall of Duty. He led Xia Pingon into a strange passageway surrounded by pitch-black metal walls. As soon as Xia Pingon entered the passageway, he felt that with every step he took, there would be a powerful, yet hidden energy wave sweeping across his body from the surrounding metal walls. The energy wave caused his secret mandala to tremble slightly. Don't be nervous. This is the normal procedure for joining the Wan Shun sect. As long as you are a human, have not been contaminated by demon chi, and have not been tampered with, there will be no problem. Our Wan Shun sect is not on good terms with some sects that worship the Dominator demon god. We are like fire and water, so you have to be careful. Xia Pingon nodded. He was a little worried that his secret transformation technique would be discovered by this strange passageway. After walking through the passageway that spanned dozens of meters, Xia Pingon found that there was nothing wrong with him. Liang Tian also did not have any other reaction. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that his secret transformation technique was quite useful. At the end of the black passageway was a room that looked like a counter. A white-bearded old man with thick glasses was sitting behind the counter, reading a thick book. When he heard footsteps, he raised his head and looked at the two people who had just entered. In front of the counter, there was a crystal table. On the crystal table, there were two grooves that one could place one's palms into. Liang Tian motioned for Xia Pingon to put his hands into the grooves. Xia Pingon did as he was told. When he put his palms into the grooves, the crystal table began to shine. Then he felt a slight pain in his fingers as a bit of blood was extracted. Only then did the table shine with a red light. Xia Pingon felt a heat flow into his palms. Liang Tian nodded, indicating that it was done. Xia Pingon then raised his hands. What I just injected into your palms is the divine power insignia of the 10,000 Gods sect. When you go out in the future, if you meet a disciple of the 10,000 Gods sect, you can show the insignia on your palms. It can be used to identify your identity. Even a demigod would find it difficult to imitate this insignia. Liang Tian explained to Xia Pingon. How do I show it? Just inject your divine power into any of your palms. Like this. Liang Tian demonstrated once. Suddenly, a golden divine power insignia of the 10,000 Gods sect appeared on his palms. If you don't want anyone to see it, just let them feel it. Like this. He clenched his fist, and the insignia disappeared. However, Xia Pingon could still feel a familiar yet obscure divine power fluctuation from his body that was similar to the one on the crystal table. Interesting. This was an identification between friend and foe. Xia Pingon nodded. This initiation ritual was quite useful. The divine power insignia of the secret mandala is only 7,148 points. He just entered the reflection realm not long ago. He is too weak. Did he also complete the entrance test? At this moment, the old man who was reading the book finally raised his gaze and looked at Xia Pingon. His gaze was filled with a sense of scrutiny. He is a spirit master called Long Huan. Manager Fu gave him special permission to wear a white robe with golden patterns. He also has a spirit residence in the immortal city. Liang Tian explained to the old man. Oh, a look of understanding appeared on the old man's face. Not bad, not bad. Another soul cultivator. Soul cultivators are good, haha. With that, the old man waved his hand to place 3 different size boxes in front of Xia Pingon. In the first box was an official 10,000 Gods sect disciple's white mage robe. The white mage robe was slightly different from ordinary white mage robes. The cuffs of the mage robe in the box were covered with black and gold patterns. It looked a little special. In the second box were 2 realm beads. One was a blacksmith realm bead, and the other was a sage realm bead. Seeing the mysterious radiance of the 2 realm beads, Xia Pingon felt his heartbeat quicken. In the third box was a golden key that shone brightly. Chapter 440. 10 minutes later, Liang Tian personally sent Xia Pingon out of the Hall of Responsibility of the Immortal City. When the disciples of the 10,000 Gods sect passed by the Hall of Responsibility, they couldn't help but glance at Xia Pingon. At this moment, Xia Pingon was already wearing the white mage robe that symbolized that he was an official disciple of the 10,000 Gods sect in the Reflection Realm. However, the white mage robe he wore was slightly different from the white mage robes of the 10,000 Gods sect disciples that came and went in the Hall of Responsibility. On the sleeves of Xia Pingon's mage robe, there were a few very beautiful black and gold cloud tattoos. These tattoos immediately made Xia Pingon's white mage robe special. Among the disciples wearing white mage robes that came and went in the Hall of Duty, only Xia Pingon's mage robe was somewhat special. Deacon Liang, it seems that my white robe with golden tattoos is really special. I'm not used to the way everyone looks at me, haha. Xia Pingon said to Liang Tian as he walked to the door. As an official disciple of the 10,000 Gods sect, he felt different walking in the Immortal City. It gave people a sense of superiority. It's okay, you'll get used to it slowly. In the entire Immortal City, there are only a few disciples with golden tattoos on their white robes. Golden tattoos are the symbol of a master. In the 10,000 Gods sect, it's not easy to have a golden tattoo on your robe. Deacon Liang, I'm a little scared after hearing what you said. There's no need to be scared. As he spoke, Liang Tian stopped at the entrance of the Hall of Responsibility. All right, I'll send you here. Don't forget what I told you just now. Xia Pingon patted his chest and said with a forthright look, Deacon Liang, don't worry. I won't forget. Next month, I'll report to the 7th floor of the Hall of Responsibility on time and refine the next soul tool for the 10,000 God sect. This is a serious matter. I won't delay it, okay? Liang Tian nodded. His gaze towards Xia Pingan suddenly became somewhat deep, and his tone suddenly became erratic. You just entered the reflection realm, so it's best if you seize the opportunity to enter the Nether Passage realm as soon as possible. Immortal City and 10,000 God sect can be considered peaceful now, but who knows when there will be a huge change. At the critical moment of life and death, a Soul Master's ability won't be able to protect you, and your ability might even involve you in some dangerous matters. You should be more careful. Don't be too immersed in the comfortable environment brought about by your Soul Master's ability and forget to cultivate. That way, you might not be able to go far. Think about it. Among all the gods that have been able to become gods, none of them were Soul Masters. Why do you think this is? Liang Tian's words made Xia Pingan's heart tighten. Xia Pingan felt that Liang Tian seemed to be hinting at something, but he didn't say it clearly. Xia Pingan was about to ask when Liang Tian, who had finished speaking, turned around and walked towards the entrance of the Hall of Responsibility. But when he was about to reach the entrance, he suddenly thought of something and turned around to say, "Oh, right, Yundao, Jiuzi should be your friends, right? They're currently staying at the Fulong Hotel on Xing He Street in the south of the Immortal City." "Ah, thank you, Deacon Liang." Seeing that Liang Tian had re-entered the Hall of Affair, Xia Pingan turned around and strode towards the main street in front of him. Xia Pingan thought about Liang Tian's words as he walked. His originally excited mood calmed down a lot. What did Liang Tian mean by the last sentence? Was he reminding him that the situation facing the 10,000 God sect might change? Or was he hinting that the 10,000 God sect was in a hurry to recruit Soul Masters, and that there might be dangerous missions and tests waiting for him? No matter what the reason was, Liang Tian's words reminded Xia Pingan that when it came to a life and death situation, his ability to refine soul tools wouldn't be able to save him. He mustn't be immersed in the vanity and comfort of being a soul master and forget the most important thing, becoming a god and destroying the Dark Tower. This was his ultimate mission and goal after coming to this world. All of his abilities were to serve this goal. Xia Pingan, who was walking on the street, took a deep breath and calmed down instantly. He identified the direction and walked directly towards the south of the Immortal City. 40 minutes later, Xia Pingan raised his head and saw the signboard hanging above the entrance of the hotel in front of him. It had the words Fulong Hotel written on it. He was about to enter the hotel when a beautiful lady in a red dress came out of the hotel. The two of them met face to face and were both stunned. "Miss Lien, long time no see." Xia Pingan smiled and greeted Lien Yuzhu. The beauty in front of him was Lien Yuzhu, one of the 9 sons of the Cloud Island. "You're back." Seeing Xia Pingan, Lien Yuzhu's face was filled with surprise. "Thanks to Brother Feng, Miss Lien, and everyone else, this time I was scared but not in danger. I was found by the experts of the 10,000 God sect and safely brought back to the Immortal City." "All right, is Brother Feng in the shop now?" Xia Pingan came to the shop this time to meet Feng Liu and the 9 sons of the Cloud Island and thank them properly. The 9 sons of the Cloud Island were indeed friends. When he was in danger, they immediately came to the Immortal City to think of a solution. It was all thanks to them that he was able to be brought back by elderly. Yes, Brother Feng and the others are in the garden. I'll bring you in." Lien Yuzhu smiled and gently stroked the hair on her temples. "Thank you, Miss Lien." Lien Yuzhu stepped on the wind and directly brought Xia Pingan into the hotel. After a few turns, they arrived at the entrance of a courtyard in the hotel. Before they entered, she shouted from outside, "Brother, everyone look who's here. Third sister, didn't you want to visit the Treasure Cloud Hall in the city? Why did you come back?" A voice came from inside. Xia Pingan and Lien Yuzhu entered the courtyard and saw Feng Liu playing chess with the handsome guy of the 9 sons of the Cloud Island in the pavilion of the courtyard. There were 3 people standing beside them and watching. "Brother Feng, long time no see." Xia Pingan laughed loudly. "Brother Long Huan, it's you." Feng Liu stood up and threw away the chess piece. His face revealed a relieved and surprised expression. He quickly walked over and grabbed Xiao Pingan's arm. He looked at Xiao Pingan from head to toe. Then, Feng Liu laughed and turned to his sixth brother. Sixth brother, call all the brothers here. Let's have a good drink today. Yes, yes, yes. Today, let me see the alcohol tolerance of Brother Feng and the other brothers. Xiao Pingan also laughed. Brother Longhuan, our third sister has the best alcohol tolerance among the 9 sons of the Cloud Island. My third sister is a heroine. If you can drink more than my third sister, we will not be your opponent. Miss Lien is also a heroine in alcohol. Sorry for the disrespect. Lien Yuzhu stared at Feng Liu, which made him confused. In an instant, the courtyard was filled with laughter. Not long after, the rest of the 9 sons of the Cloud Island arrived. Feng Liu asked the hotel to set up a long table in the courtyard and serve food and wine. The atmosphere became even more lively when the wine was served. Under the questioning of Feng Liu and the others, Xiao Pingan roughly explained what happened after he left the Sea King. Xiao Pingan's strange experience made the 9 sons of the Cloud Island speechless. They all chatted happily as they drank. It was really refreshing. Xiao Pingan still did not know where the ruins of the land of the fallen gods were. The undying sea and the god-slaying insect world were vast and boundless. The only ones who knew where it was were probably Supreme Styx and a few others. Even if the others knew, they would not be able to find it. Therefore, Xiao Pingan was not afraid to tell them about the land of the fallen gods. After drinking this wine, Xiao Pingan realized that the block and depression that had accumulated in his heart these past few days had disappeared without a trace as he poured out his heart. I did not expect that there would be such a strange place in the undying sea. That Crane Bell Rampart was just a lackey. It was good that he died. Brother Long is blessed with good fortune. Come, I propose that we all toast to Brother Long. All right. After a round of drinks, Xiao Pingan moved his hand and took out the soul anchoring pearl that Feng Liu and the 9 sons of the Cloud Island brought him. Without saying a word, he placed it in Feng Liu's hand. Brother Feng, this soul anchoring pearl is my gift to all of you. I did not prepare anything last time, so I will use this pearl to make up for it. Seeing that Feng Liu was about to say something, Xiao Pingan cut in. Brother Feng, I know what you want to say. Don't worry, I still have a soul anchoring pearl on me. It is enough. If Brother Feng and the rest of you treat me as a friend, then please accept this soul anchoring pearl. This soul anchoring pearl is very beneficial to the soul. If Brother Feng and the rest of you want to craft a soul armament, then you can use this soul anchoring pearl to nourish your soul. If Brother Feng refuses, then I will leave now and pretend that we do not know each other. Feng Liu looked at Xiao Pingan, then looked at the expressions of his brothers. In the end, he could only smile bitterly and nod. It seems that I have no choice but to accept Brother Long's kind intentions. This meal was a delightful one. Half a day later, Xiao Pingan said his goodbyes to the Yundao Jiuzi. Shaking his head, he walked out of the Fulong Tavern with the Yundao Jiuzi. Everyone, please stop here. We will meet again when we have time. For now, please take the time to nourish your souls and prepare for the crafting of soul armaments. Once you're ready, feel free to come find me. If you do not wish to craft a soul armament, then feel free to give your spot to someone else and exchange it for something you need. As Xiao Pingan spoke, he took out 9 gold coins. Pinching the coins with his finger, he caused them to change shape like mud and leave behind a fingerprint of Xiao Pingan. Taking advantage of his drunkenness, Xiao Pingan handed the 9 gold coins to the Yundao Jiuzi one by one. Consider this a small token of my appreciation. The Yundao Jiuzi will each receive one of these gold coins. Just have someone bring them to me. Xiao Pingan had given the Yundao Jiuzi a soul anchoring pearl, which was equivalent to giving each of them a soul armament. This was a very generous gesture. Feng Liu was moved. Brother Long, I don't know what to say. You're being too polite. It's just a soul armament. I'll make it for anyone. I'll be going now. Xiao Pingan laughed. Waving his hand, he bid farewell to Feng Liu and strode away, leaving the Yundao Jiuzi standing at the entrance of the tavern in a daze as they watched him leave. It wasn't until Xia Pinggan's figure disappeared around the corner that Feng Liu turned around to see Lin Yuzhu staring at Xia Pinggan's back. Her cheeks were slightly red, and her hands were tightly gripping the gold coins that Xia Pinggan had given her. Her eyes were full of longing. This was the first time Feng Liu had seen Lin Yuzhu behaving like a girl. Could it be one of the brothers beside him also noticed Lin Yuzhu's abnormality and gave Feng Liu a look? Just now, at the table, Lin Yuzhu was acting out of character. Not only did she not drink much, she even drank a lot for Brother Long cough. Feng Liu coughed lightly, waking Lin Yuzhu up. Feng Liu pretended to be serious. Third sister, since Brother Long has returned safely to Undying City, and we've stayed here for a long time, I think we should return to Cloud Island tomorrow. Staying underground is not as comfortable as staying on Cloud Island. We're leaving tomorrow. Lin Yuzhu was slightly absent-minded. She looked in the direction that Xia Pinggan had left in. Brother Long is really a good man. Brother Long is really a good man. If he hadn't joined the 10,000 Gods sect, I think our Cloud Island's 9 children would have become the Cloud Island's 10 children. If we leave Brother Long alone in Immortal City, there will be no one to take care of him. A soul cultivator like him must have a lot of things to take care of. If something happens to him, we won't know. If one of us stays in Immortal City, we can meet Brother Long at any time. If anything happens to Brother Long, we'll know immediately. I think it's best if you stay, third sister. Feng Liu said seriously. I don't think it's appropriate for me to stay. Lin Yuzhu's heart raced as her face turned hot, as if she had drunk hundreds of kilograms of Longhu drunk. She lowered her voice as she lowered her head and said bashfully, "Now that elder brother says so, I will stay." After Lin Yuzhu finished speaking, a few seconds later, she realized that there was no sound around her. She raised her head and realized that Feng Liu and the people around him were staring at her with their mouths agape. Third sister, what did you just say? Sixth brother looked at her in shock. The 2 guys beside him also had sour looks on their faces. Third sister, I've known you for so many years. You're the most feminine person I've ever seen. I thought you wouldn't be shy. Eighth brother added. So third sister wants to stay. Lin Yuzhu immediately knew that she had been tricked. Feng Liu was just teasing her. She flew into a rage out of humiliation and turned from a doe into a tigress. She didn't care about the fever on her face. She pulled out a long sword and slashed it towards Feng Liu and the others. She scolded, "Bastard, do you want to see me make a fool of myself? I'll let you see. I'll let you see. Who said that I'm not a woman?" Lin Yuzhu waved her long sword and scared the Cloud Island's 9 sons into scattering. Chapter 441. It should be here. An hour later, Xia Pinggan arrived at a high-class residential area in the south of the Immortal City. Standing in front of a vermilion gate, he raised his head and looked at the house number on the wall beside the gate. Heavenly Shine, Alley Spirit number 98. On both sides of the surrounding alley, there were houses of similar size. This house was the spirit house in the Immortal City. This spirit house sounded like a haunted place, but the environment was good. Outside the courtyard was a snow-white wall that was more than 3 meters high. There were also fluorite lamps in the alley. It looked very high-class and was much better than the courtyards of ordinary hotels and inns. Xia Pinggan looked around. The alley was very quiet and there was no one else. He directly walked to the stairs and took out the golden key and inserted it into the door lock. With a turn of the key, the door opened. Sure enough, it was here. The Immortal City was underground. Therefore, the vegetation in the courtyard was also suitable for those strange things that grew underground. Several huge mushrooms stood in the courtyard. Those mushrooms were more than 2 meters high. Each mushroom was like a small pavilion. Below the mushrooms was a thick layer of moss, which looked a bit magical. There was a pond in the courtyard. The fish in the pond were also a species unique to the underground world. Those fish's bodies were like glass. They were translucent and could even emit light. A group of colorful red, blue, and green fish swam in the water and emitted light. In the dark, if one didn't use the dark vision, they would look very beautiful. After entering the courtyard and closing the door, Xiao Pingan summoned the Boy of Fortune and the Black Dragon. He let the Boy of Fortune and the Black Dragon wander around the courtyard and the underground secret room. After finding that there was no problem, he was relieved. A few minutes later, Xiao Pingan stood in the yard, holding the formation plate of the ice and fire sword array that he had made before. He directly buried the formation plate under the big mushrooms. As soon as the formation plate was buried and the incantation was activated, the whole yard was covered by the array set by Xiao Pingan. Although the Yin-Yang Maze Ice and Fire Sword Array's array disc wasn't very powerful, it should be enough to protect this house and deal with ordinary intruders. Even a 7 or 8 Sun Realm expert would need some time to break through this array disc. This would give him enough warning and reaction time. After burying an array disc in the courtyard, Xiao Pingan let out a sigh of relief. He felt that this courtyard was a little more interesting. At least he didn't have to be on tenterhooks when he fell asleep. Then, Xiao Pingan went to the underground secret room in the courtyard. The underground secret room in this courtyard was more than 200 square meters. The floor and walls of the secret room were covered with a layer of rock and a layer of metal armor. It looked very hard, but this was only on the surface. Xiao Pingan didn't forget how he and the flaming rhinoceros had killed Wei Jiangxing, the leader of the righteous gang, as if he was a chicken in the secret room in Yushan City. Xiao Pingan didn't want to be killed like that one day when he was fusing with a realm pearl. That would be a tragedy. At this moment, Xiao Pingan had a world pearl of a sacred master and a weapon forging master's world pearl that he was about to fuse. Although Xiao Pingan's heart was burning and he wanted nothing more than to fuse the world pearls as soon as possible, he couldn't be careless about the necessary preparations before the fusion. The tortoiseshell 5 elements reversal array today gave Xiao Pingan a lot of inspiration. Xiao Pingan thought for a moment, then took out a pile of gold coins from the secret room and began to refine the formation plate. In the pitch-black secret room, high-temperature flames appeared. Half an hour later, the gold coins melted in the flames and gradually turned into an octagonal formation embryo. Then, Xiao Pingan continued to refine. 3 golden tortoises for small swords and the 5 elements formation tools that symbolized metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were refined one by one. Although Xiao Pingan only had gold coins, the formation could be converted between the 5 elements. As long as there was one item, it could be refined. With the 5 elements, metal would produce water, water would produce wood, wood would produce fire, fire would produce earth, and earth would produce metal. There was no lack of the 5 elements. Metal formation plates were more durable and more malleable. They could also withstand more formation patterns, so they were widely used. Under special circumstances, if one wasn't picky, wood, ice, and earth could be used to make formation plates. After adding these formation tools to the formation embryo, the formation base was formed. With the formation incantation, the formation base and the flames gradually changed shape. From time to time, strange formation patterns were integrated into it. The formation eye and the formation door were gradually condensed. Finally, 2 days later, Xiao Pingan stopped the incantation, and an 8-trigram formation plate with restrained light steadily fell from the air into his hands. On the formation plate, several golden tortoises could be seen standing on 3 legs, each with their heads raised to the sky. There was a small golden sword in the Qian, Kuan, Li, and Kan positions of the formation plate. It's done. Xiao Pingan grinned and exhaled a long breath. Because of the previous experience of refining formation plates, the refining process of this formation plate was unusually smooth. It was not only a practice, but also a breakthrough. This formation plate was slightly stronger than the one in Liang Tian's. It was the tortoiseshell 5 elements reversal 8 trigrams sword formation, with stronger defensive power and stronger offensive power. Outside the secret room, there was the yin and yang confusion ice and fire sword formation. Inside the secret room, there was also such a formation plate. Xiao Pingan threw out the formation plate and struck it with an incantation. The formation plate immediately melted into the void, and a layer of faint white fog appeared around the secret room. At this moment, the secret room seemed unchanged, but it was already under the protection of the formation. After refining formation plates for 2 consecutive days, Xia Pingan was still in high spirits. He was full of vigor, without a trace of fatigue. At the thought of integrating the important realm pearl, Xia Pingan drank some water and ate something in the secret room. Then, he closed his eyes and rested for 2 hours. When his energy was restored to its peak state, he opened his eyes and took out a box from the space warehouse. This box was the one he had obtained from the Hall of Duty. The box was divided into 2 layers. The top layer of the box contained 2 realm pearls. The Sage Master Realm Pearl was as smooth as jade and flashed with a rainbow-like light. In the middle of the rainbow-like light, a statue of Confucius was faintly discernible. The Blacksmith Realm Pearl was a deep and solemn black. In the middle of the Realm Pearl, there was a flame spewing out. In the flame, there was the shadow of a long sword and the words, "O Yezi" in Xiaozhuan. After integrating the Blacksmith Realm Pearl, one could forge a longsword Dharma weapon. However, if one wanted to forge other Dharma weapons, they would have to integrate different Weapon Spirit Realm Pearls. To a certain extent, the integration of Weapon Spirit Realm Pearls was more difficult. On the second layer of the box, there was a spiritual force crystal with the words, "O Yezi" on it. This was the Blacksmith Realm Pearl's spiritual force crystal. The Sage Master Realm Pearl didn't have a spiritual force crystal. After integrating the Sage Master Realm Pearl, whether one could obtain a Tao teaching position seemed to be a long process. It completely depended on one's ability, talent, and comprehension. Xia Pingan's gaze swept across the 2 realm pearls. In order to be safe, he summoned Xuanwu to guard the secret room. Then, he picked up the Blacksmith Realm Pearl and the spiritual force crystal of the Blacksmith Realm Pearl and began to drip blood to integrate them. Oyezi and Ganjiang Moxie were people of the same generation. They were all master swordsmiths. The 3 of them had once gone to the Chu Kingdom and forged the Dragon Abyss, Tai Yi, and Gongbu's swords for the King of Chu. Xiaopingan guessed that the reason this Blacksmith Realm Pearl was Oyezi and not Ganjiang Moxie was because Oyezi was the most important person among the master swordsmiths. Not only did Oyezi forge the Chunjun, evil-slaying Yu Chong, Juk, and other famous bronze swords, he also forged the first iron sword in the history of China, the Dragon Abyss. He completed an epic-making feat and led the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. The clear sable sword that Oyezi forged was hailed as the #1 divine sword in the world. It became a symbol of the rise and fall of a country. The Yu Chong and other swords that he forged were also very famous in history and were linked to many historical figures and events. Xia Pingan had never seen the clear sable sword before. However, from what he had read in the history books, the clear sable sword was regarded as a national treasure by the Yu Kingdom the moment it was forged. Feng Menglong's Annals of the Eastern Zhou Dynasty said that the clear sable sword was forged from the heroes of the 5 metals. This clear sable sword could cut through iron as if it was mud. It might be the first super strong alloy sword in history and was one step ahead of the Dragon Abyss. The information provided by the spiritual force crystal introduced Oyezi's life. It also emphasized that Oyezi's metallurgy and forging skills were learned from his maternal uncle. A moment later, Xia Pingan was surrounded by a cocoon of light. An hour later, the cocoon of light shattered and Xia Pingan opened his eyes. In his eyes, there were 2 clear, faint, golden sword images that slowly dissipated in the flames. This realm pearl increased Xia Pingan's god power by 128 points. Xia Pingan officially became a weapon forging master. There was a new weapon forging hall in the secret mandala. The person in charge of the weapon forging hall was Oyezi. After calming down for a moment, Xia Pingan picked up the Sage Master Realm Pearl that he had admired for a long time. Before fusing, Xia Pingan went through all of Confucius's life and works in his mind. After confirming that he did not miss anything, he started fusing with his blood. In a daze, Xia Pingan opened his eyes. He was immediately shocked by the scene in front of him. In front of him was a huge and spacious hall. There was a huge plaque hanging in the hall with the words Sage Master Hall written on it. The empty space in the hall was densely packed with people kneeling. There were at least 3,000 to 4,000 of them. These people were all wearing Confucian robes. They were all looking at him respectfully, as if they were humbly learning. He was sitting on a high platform. Behind the platform were 20 granite pillars that were as tall as pillars supporting the sky. Those pillars were standing behind him. On those pillars, there were large and dazzling golden characters. On the 20 pillars, there were 20 articles from the Analects of Confucius carved on them. On the tallest stone pillar behind Xia Pingan was the first article of the Analects of Confucius, learning and becoming first. Confucius said, "Learning and practicing, isn't that right? Isn't it a joy to have friends coming from afar? Isn't it a gentleman not knowing and not being angry? Mister, please preach the Tao to us." The 3,000 to 4,000 people in the main hall shouted in unison. Their voices rumbled as they saluted Xia Pingan in the ancient way. Xia Pingan looked around and finally discovered that the Sage Master Hall was not somewhere else. It was in his secret mandala. It was a new building that had appeared in his secret mandala. Chapter 442. Looking at the crowded square in the Sage Master Hall, looking at the pious, respectful, and thirsty faces, Xia Pingan seemed to have seen the scene of Confucius giving a lecture. The Sage Master Hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes were on Xia Pingan, waiting for him to preach. Xia Pingan's gaze once again fell on the first sentence on the most conspicuous pillar. Confucius said, "What you learn, you practice. Isn't that right? Isn't it a joy to have friends coming from afar? Isn't it a gentleman to not be enraged despite not knowing?" This was the first sentence at the beginning of the first book in Huaxia. It was also the first sentence that passed down the entire civilization and spirit of Huaxia for thousands of years. Unfortunately, the understanding of the people of later generations, including the many textbooks, was really superficial and laughable. It had already caused many students and descendants of the Yellow Emperor to forget the true meaning of this sentence. They had forgotten what the true spirit of Confucianism was. It also caused many people to misunderstand and misinterpret Confucius. They dismissed Confucius' words and thoughts, as well as the teachings of the saints, as dregs. Today, he was going to clear the name of the saints and Chinese civilization in the Sage Master Hall. He was going to let everyone understand what the true spirit of the Analects of Confucius was. Xia Pingan took a deep breath and finally opened his mouth. As soon as he opened his mouth on the high platform, his voice was clear and loud, spreading throughout the Sage Master Hall. Confucius said, "What you learn, you practice. Isn't that right?" What is the meaning of this sentence? If you want to understand the true meaning of this sentence, you have to first understand the meaning of the word study. This study is the study of Confucianism. What is a Confucian? A gentleman who aspires to become a saint is a Confucian. Not a Tom, Dick, or Harry can be a Confucian. If a gentleman doesn't have this ambition, he won't be a Confucian. The Analects of Confucius is a classic of the great Tao that Confucians study to become a saint. There are 4 ways to learn the way of the sage. The first is to listen to the way of the sage, which means see the way, 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 which means see the way of the sage, and then learn the way of the sage. What do you mean by 11? Shi, traditional Chinese, refers to the sun on the top and the bottom of the feather. The sun belongs to Yang, and the fledgling rides the qi of heaven and earth to travel in the 6 directions. If you don't learn the way of the sage, you won't be able to ride the qi of heaven and earth. Learning meant obtaining the body of the divine path and learning the use of the divine path. If one did not learn, one would not be able to learn. If one did not learn, one would not be able to learn. If one did not learn, one would not be able to learn. This was the path to becoming a saint. To learn and learn, one must have the right time. Therefore, there is learn and learn at the right time. The right time is not according to the right time, but according to the right time, the right time. According to the right time, one is a lowly person. According to the right time, one is a gentleman. According to the right time, one can walk the way of the sage. Therefore, to learn and learn at the right time, isn't that right? The meaning of the first sentence of the Analects of Confucius is that a gentleman hears the way of the sage, sees the way of the sage, and constantly uses the way of the sage as a reference to himself in reality, constantly correcting and improving himself. When the time is right, one can ride the righteousness of the heaven and earth to travel the 6 directions and walk the way of the sage. This is the joy of a gentleman. What is the study of Confucianism? As long as one is determined to learn, even an ordinary person can become a sage. This is the study of Confucianism, the spirit that has been passed down for 1,000 years in China. Man, the heart of the heaven and earth, is indomitable. As long as one is determined to learn, one can become a sage. As soon as Xia Pingan finished explaining the first sentence of the Analects of Confucius, his entire secret mandala shook. In the sky above the secret mandala, 10,000 rays of golden light bloomed and directly shone on Xia Pingan's body. In the golden light, 10,000 saints appeared. The heavenly rain was precious, and golden lotuses sprouted from the ground. The entire secret mandala was rumbling. At the same time, on Crouching Dragon Island in the Undying Sea, Lord Nether River had just walked out of the Myriad Treasure Hall with a face full of smiles when his secret mandala suddenly shook. As if sensing something, Lord Nether River couldn't help but look up at the sky. The originally cloudless sky quietly split open at this moment, as if a curtain had been lifted. The mighty and majestic aura of the god realm instantly arrived. Within a radius of 1,000,000 miles, there was the shadow of a sacred master standing there with his hands cupped together. 10,000 saints appeared on both sides of the shadow. Golden dragons circled in the sky, and phoenixes danced in the sky. The mighty aura of the divine world turned into all kinds of flowers that sprinkled down from the sky. Beautiful music was born naturally in the sky, and it resounded throughout the world. Lord Nether River was stunned. His secret mandala began to tremble before the mighty aura of the god realm. It was like a grain of sand in the vast ocean and had the urge to submit to the ground. The originally calm, undying sea instantly boiled. Countless creatures at the bottom of the sea, including mermaids, aquatic beasts, dragons, snakes, fishes, and prawns, leaped out of the water, boiling and jumping, devouring the various kinds of golden petals that were sprinkling down from the sky. 2 golden petals fell from the sky and landed on True Monarch Nether River's forehead. True Monarch Nether River only felt a slight chill on his forehead, and his spirit was shaken. Those petals actually gave him 2 points of divine power. Huge pillars condensed from seawater rose from the sea, connecting the sky and the earth, and manifesting the appearance of the sacred Master Hall. Golden words appeared on one of the huge pillars. Just like the words on the realm pearl, no one could understand them. Under the aura of the arrival of the divine world, numerous golden lotuses suddenly appeared on the vast and boundless sea surface. The undying sea seemed to have become the crystal palace of the Dragon King. The radiance of exotic and magnificent jewels and treasures were flickering everywhere. What's going on? What's going on in the sky? That's the aura of the god realm. Heavens, could it be that the true bodies of the gods have arrived at the god-slaying insect world? For a moment, countless summoners on Crouching Dragon Island flew into the sky. They were all dumbfounded. They didn't know why such a huge phenomenon suddenly appeared in the sky above the undying sea. Let alone seeing such a phenomenon, they had never even heard of it. It was the same on Crouching Dragon Island. It was the same on Cloud Island, tens of thousands of miles away. Everyone was boiling. At the same time, in the sacred master hall of the great Shang Kingdom's capital, Shang Capital, a golden light shone down from the sky. The sacred bell hanging in the sacred master hall suddenly rang by itself. Dong! Dong! When the sacred master hall's bell rang, The entire Shang capital heard it. Especially for summoners, the bell in the Sacred Master Hall seemed to have a special magic. Just by listening to the bell, a summoner's mind could instantly clear up. The Sacred Master Hall's bell wouldn't ring unless there was a major event. Even when the great Shang Kingdom's Emperor Beidang Zhao worshipped the heavens of the Temple of Heaven, the Sacred Master Hall's bell only rang 12 times. However, the bell kept ringing, and soon it had already rung 12 times. What's going on? The Judgment Army's Lin Yi walked out of his office and looked in the direction of the Imperial City. When he saw the golden light descending from the sky, his face was filled with astonishment. In the Shang capital's Eastport Inspection Department, Hua Ziqin, Situ Hua, and the others also walked out of the office building and looked in the direction of the Imperial City in astonishment. Meanwhile, in the Imperial City, the moment the bell sounded, Beitang Zhao's figure had already instantly appeared in Sacred Master Palace. The Sacred Master of Great Shang Country's imperial family, who was in charge of Sacred Master Palace, was an old man with white hair and a white beard. He also had an expression of shock, excitement, and a bit of confusion as he stood under the great bell tower. His entire body was trembling. He raised his head, looking at the great bell that rang under the illumination of golden light. "Sir, what's going on?" Beitang Zhao asked. "This is Sacred Master. Sacred Master. A true Sacred Master has appeared. The divine realm has sensed it. The sacred bell is ringing. A true Sacred Master? What does that mean?" "Your Majesty, I don't know either. There's a legend among the Sacred Masters. It's said that when a true Sacred Master appears, he could impart knowledge to all the realm pearls, and the sacred bell will ring by itself." The Sacred Master of the Great Shang Kingdom explained as if he was going to go into shock. "What?" Beitang Zhao was also shocked. If there was such a Sacred Master, didn't it mean that numerous summoners could constantly advance as long as they had realm pearls? Such a Sacred Master could overturn everything. There might be a great change in the divine realm. "Your Majesty, please make preparations as soon as possible." The sacred bell in the Sacred Master Hall of the Imperial City of Shangjing City rang 21 times, which shocked the entire Shangjing City. Except for Shangjing City, all the sacred bells across the Yuanxiu world started to ring as long as there was a Sacred Master Hall. In a brilliant palace in an indescribable, mysterious space, Zhang Tai was sitting on the throne and drinking liquor as he looked into the distance. All of a sudden, he revealed a faint smile. "You're not slow. You didn't let me down. Don't die. I'm afraid that guy's going crazy." Note 1. Talking about Zen and entanglement, for all those who misinterpret Confucius. Chapter 443. The surface of the undying sea was boiling, and a vision of the divine world suddenly appeared. Within 1,000,000 miles, it was filled with the mighty power of the divine world. On the surface of the sea, golden lotuses bloomed one after another, and in the sky, countless petals transformed from divine power sprinkled down. Waves danced everywhere on the surface of the sea, and huge waves surged. The sea creatures that leaped out of the sea were crazily devouring the divine power petals falling from the sky. Beautiful and ethereal music fell from the sky, and everything seemed to be in a dream. Large fish leaped out of the sea, opened their mouths, and devoured the petals falling from the sky. The silver scales of the large fish that devoured more gradually turned golden. Hundreds of millions of flying fish leaped out of the water and rode the wind on the surface of the sea, crazily chasing after the petals falling from the sky. Even the heavenly star, giant clams that usually sank to the bottom of the sea, surged up at this time, setting off huge waves on the surface of the sea. They opened their shells, and like a bag on the surface of the sea, they devoured the petals falling from the sky. The summoners of the undying sea had never seen such a jubilant and lively scene before. What's going on? What happened? Countless summoners flew into the sky and looked at the vision of the divine world and the divine world in the sky with shock and bewilderment. In the entire god-slaying insect world, the The secret mandrels of all the summoners were lightly vibrating and resonating at this time, as if they were paying homage and cheering for the arrival of some divine event. No one knew why this was happening. While the entire undying sea was surging at the same time, in the abyss of the undying sea, there was another scene. In the pitch-black abyss, a blood-red vertical eye suddenly appeared in the sky. That blood-red eye carried an aura of endless madness and destruction. It was gazing at the abyss. Under the gaze of that blood-red eye, the entire abyss worm nest boiled up in the blink of an eye, and countless black gas surged up from the bottom of the abyss. A red-robed deacon of Wan Shun's sect was carrying out a task with several black-robed disciples of Wan Shun's sect in the underground abyss. The noise coming from the underground abyss immediately attracted their attention. Seeing the black gas surging up like a tsunami, their faces changed greatly. The black gas gushed out from the worm nest at the bottom of the abyss. The worm nest was the most dangerous place. No one dared to go deep. They were only carrying out missions near the edge of the worm nest abyss. On the ground above the abyss, the immortal city had a magnificent abyss fortress responsible for suppressing the abyss. It was also one of the 10,000 god sect stations in the immortal city. In the blink of an eye, the black chi rumbled as it rapidly approached from the ground. Amidst the black gas, one could vaguely see all sorts of bug tribes. A black-robed Seven Sun Realm summoner's expression changed drastically as he exclaimed, "The insect tide! The insect tide is here! Those insectoids are crazy! Report to the Abyss Fortress immediately!" A moment later, the cannons in the undying city's Abyss stronghold roared angrily and began to pour cannonballs into the abyss below. At this height, even if a rock was thrown into the abyss, the rock would fall faster and faster under the effect of acceleration, and it would have great destructive power and lethality. Moreover, the cannons that were raining shells down vertically into the abyss were heavy cannons. The cannons were filled with high explosives and would explode. The cannons also had summoner's spells on them, which would bring greater lethality. The rumbling sound resounded throughout the abyss as the cannons fell into the abyss. The cannon's speed increased the moment they left the cannons, increasing every second. They turned into flames and streams of light. The streams of light were like meteors falling from the sky, or like divine punishment descending. After passing through hundreds of miles of the underground abyss, the terrifying acceleration caused the flames and streams of light to exceed 10 times the speed of sound. The entire underground abyss was filled with the sound of breaking the sound barrier. Flames and streams of light collided with the billowing black fog surging up from the abyss. A series of explosions and sparks blossomed like fireworks in the abyss, instantly decorating the entire abyss with a riot of colors. After the simple combination of strength and speed, even a rock would bring about terrifying lethality once it broke through a certain threshold. The strong defense of the insectoids instantly became weak in front of the cannons that were driven by the simplest gunpowder and gravity. The flames and streams of light passed through the black gas, exploding the bodies of mantis blade bugs, demonic flame bugs, and other insectoids. Within the black gas of the abyss, the insectoids' broken limbs fell into the abyss like raindrops. The insectoids at the back bore the remains of the insectoids in front and were fearless as they continued to charge towards the abyss fortress. Under the immortal sea, the most intense battle broke out without any warning. In the undying city, everything was calm as usual. The summoners in the undying city didn't know about the anomaly on the ground or the movement in the underground abyss. The summoners in the city were only wondering why their secret mandala would suddenly tremble. In Xiaopinggan's secret mandala, Xiaopinggan was completely unaware of what was happening outside. Under the gaze of the 10,000 sages in the sky, Xiaopinggan calmed himself down and continued to explain the first paragraph of the first chapter of the Analects of Confucius to those disciples in the Sage Master Hall. The therein there's a friend coming from afar is not there's no such thing. The therein there's a widowed monarch is the therein Zoan. The friend is also false. What is a friend? Comrades are friends. In the oracle bone inscriptions, the friend refers to two hands standing side by side and joining hands for a common goal. The friend in this sentence also refers to other gentlemen who are determined to become sages. Friend, the ancient character for foam, is the phoenix. When a friend comes from afar, there is a phoenix coming. In Shangshu, e.g., Xiao Xiao is 90% complete. The phoenix comes to pay its respects is here. Ceremony is law. Distance refers not only to direction, but also to time. It also refers to the pulse of the Chinese civilization. The path of the sage does not appear out of thin air, but has a distant origin and flows for a long time. Feng doesn't mean something like a direction. Instead, it's a term used to refer to a wide range of things. Shangshu Li Zheng, the square, travels the world as for the surface of the sea. Since this is the square, it is still the same, still the same. Those who come from the other side to the other side, from far to near, vast and mighty, like the sun rising from the east, the tide of the sea returning, the scene of the heaven and earth's awe-inspiring righteousness rising. The great Tao of the sage was popular. It was far away, but it was also far away. Music is not the music of happiness, but the music of vocal music. Xiao Xiao is 90% complete, the scene of a flourishing age. In summary, there's a friend coming from afar. The meaning of this sentence is that gentlemen join hands for a common goal and work together to become sages. Like a phoenix among men, it is still the same, riding on the righteousness of the heaven and earth. The source is far and long. The vastness is vast and vast. From the other side to the other side, from far to near, like the sun rising from the east, the tide of the sea returning, spreading the path of the sage across the 6 directions, spreading it in all directions, spreading it with laws, enlightening it, and achieving the path of the sage to the world. This is the scene of a flourishing age created by gentlemen, the joy of gentlemen. A man who does not know but is not enraged, is he not a gentleman? This sentence was the addition of the previous 2 sentences. This person also referred to those who could not hear, see, learn, and practice the way of the sage. Those who knew were wise, which was the meaning of wisdom. People did not know, since those who could not hear, see, learn, and practice the way of the sage did not have wisdom. Sullenness was the meaning of depression. This was the Confucian family saying, "The sullenness of the south wind can dispel the sullenness of my people." Those who were not sullenness were sullenness. Those who were not wise were sullenness. Those who were wise were not sullenness. Those who could not hear, see, learn, and practice the way of the sage were sullenness. Those who were not sullenness were sullenness. The meaning of this sentence is that if you are a real gentleman and walk the path of the sage, you have to enlighten those who have no wisdom and don't know the path of the sage like the south wind. You have to turn the unwise into wise people and create a harmonious world. Only in this way can you be counted as a real gentleman and walk the path of the sage. This is the sacred mission of the Huaxia civilization and the Confucians. Confucius said, "What you have learned and what you have practiced, isn't that right? Isn't it a joy to have friends coming from afar? A man who does not know but is not enraged, is he not a gentleman?" These 3 knots are the spirit of the Analects of Confucius and the general principles of Confucianism. What you have learned and what you have practiced, speaking of the heavens, there are friends coming from afar. Speaking of the earth, there are people who do not know but are not enraged. Speaking of the sage, there must be a sage at the right time, a sage at the right place, and a sage at the right time. These 3 knots are the heavens, earth, and man of Confucianism. This sentence is placed in the first sentence of the first chapter of the Analects of Confucius. It is the opening of the Huaxia spirit, the great Tao of the sage, the conduct of a gentleman, and the principles of Confucianism. As soon as Xia Pingan finished speaking, all the sages in the sky bowed their heads at the same time. The huge pillar behind him suddenly shone with golden light. The pillar was petrified, and the sculptures in the secret mandala started to tremble. The sculptures of the three foundation establishment realm pearls of Swerin, Cho clan, and Shinnon clan each shot out a beam of light and shone on the huge pillar. On the huge golden pillar, in addition to the words, historical sculptures of the people of Swerin, Cho clan, and Shinnon clan gradually appeared. The beams of light from the sculptures in the divine halls continued to shoot toward the huge pillar. A beam of light shone on Xia Pingan's head. Xia Pingan was surrounded by a beam of light. He felt warm all over, as if he was wandering in the source of the great Tao. After an unknown period of time, Xia Pingan suddenly opened his eyes. He was still in the secret chamber. He checked his body. Not only was there nothing wrong with his body, but he was also full of energy. After the powerful divine power imbuement and purification, it was as if he had changed his body. Not only that, Xia Pingan suddenly realized that there were many things in his head. It was the Sage Master's secret imbuement technique. Xia Pingan hurriedly entered his secret mandala. The divine power in the heavenly Kaisan well in the divine halls increased by 360 points. On the first golden pillar of the Sage Master Hall in the secret mandala, there were a total of 64 relief sculptures. He had only spoken the 32 words on the first pillar to prove the name of the sage. 32 words, 64 relief sculptures, 2 relief sculptures for each word. This also meant that he had mastered the secret imbuement technique of 64 foundation establishment realm pearls. He wondered if the Yuanxiu world had such a sage master. Xia Pingan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. If others knew that he had such an ability, would they slice him into pieces? Xia Pingan was in a daze when he felt the ground beneath his feet shake. He could faintly hear the rumbling sounds coming from outside. There seemed to be some big movement in the immortal city. Only then did he quickly get up and leave the secret chamber. Chapter 444. Xia Pingan walked out of the secret chamber and came to the courtyard. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a 100-meter-long, fiery red strange insect with 2 pairs of wings and scales all over its body in the sky above the immortal city. Its entire body was on fire, and its body was split into 2 halves, leaving a long trail of black smoke behind it. Fresh blood splattered all over the sky, and it fell heavily from the sky like an airship that had been shot down. Beside that strange insect, several red-robed deacons of the Wan Shun sect could be faintly seen. The halos of summoned creatures and spells in the sky were also slowly dissipating. The immortal city was not very peaceful. Looking at the originally tranquil immortal city, there were 2 places in the city that were ablaze. From time to time, the figures of summoners could be seen flying out of the city. Xia Pingan rubbed his eyes, and his face was full of surprise. What was going on? Before he entered the secret chamber, the immortal city was still peaceful. Why did the immortal city seem to have become chaotic in the blink of an eye? The strange insect in the sky just now had a red body, which was roughly equivalent to a summoner's ethereal opening realm. Usually, such strange insects would have been exterminated far away from the immortal city. Since when could these underground insects fly to the immortal city? What exactly happened? Under Xia Pingan's gaze, that strange insect that fell from the sky landed in the north of the immortal city. Countless summoners had already flown up from the place where the strange insect landed. When the strange insect landed, a flash of light came from the darkness, followed by a violent explosion. With a roar, smoke rose from a corner of the immortal city, and various stone fragments were thrown out. It was as if an ugly poisonous mushroom had grown out of a corner of the city. That strange insect's body actually self-exploded the moment it landed. Soon, the vibration caused by the explosion came from the ground, causing a layer of ripples to appear in the pond in the courtyard where Xia Pingan was. The glowing little fish in the pond panicked and scurried around. A few pieces of gravel the size of a fingernail landed on the few strange large mushrooms in the courtyard where Xia Pingan was. Xia Pingan shuddered. Damn, luckily that thing did not land in his courtyard. If it landed here, according to the power of the explosion, his courtyard would be finished in an instant. The secret chamber might not be able to withstand it. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the direction of the Hall of Duty in the Immortal City. It rumbled and spread throughout the city. All inner and outer disciples of the Wan Shun sect in the Immortal City gather at the Hall of Duty immediately. As soon as this voice was heard, figures immediately flew up from all over the city and flew towards the Hall of Duty of the Immortal City. Xiao Pingan calmed his mind and took out his pocket watch to check the time. There was no sun or moon underground, but the time on the pocket watch told him that he had used about 3 days to merge with the Saint Master's Realm Pearl. In these 3 days, something big must have happened in the Immortal City. Xiao Pingan thought to himself. He did not go immediately. Instead, he immediately went to the underground secret chamber and put away Xuanwu. After thinking for a while, he even put away the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword array that he had just refined. Then, Xiao Pingan came to the courtyard outside. He suddenly soared into the sky and flew towards the Hall of Duty. After flying for less than a kilometer, a voice came from the sky. Brother Long, Xiao Pingan looked over. It was Feng Liu, Lin Yuzhu, and the 5th, 7th, and 8th brothers of the Cloud, Island 9 sons. The 5 of them were also in the sky. When they saw Xiao Pingan, they immediately flew towards Xiao Pingan. Brother Long, are you all right? Feng Liu asked with concern as soon as he flew over. I'm fine. Xiao Pingan shook his head. Brother Feng, what's going on in the Immortal City? Why is it suddenly so chaotic? Brother Long, have you not been in the Immortal City these 2 days? Feng Liu asked curiously. Yes, I have. It's just that I've been cultivating in the secret chamber these 2 days, studying the array and merging with the Realm Pearl. Today, I felt a huge commotion outside, so I just came out of the secret chamber. I see. Feng Liu and the others did not doubt Xiao Pingan's words. 4 high-level summoners, it was normal for them to go into seclusion for 10 days, half a month, or even 3 to 5 months in order to study secret techniques. There were even some who went into seclusion for 8 to 10 years. Xiao Pingan had only gone into seclusion for a few days, so it was nothing. Something big has happened in the god-slaying insect world these few days. I heard that a true sage master has appeared in the god-slaying insect world. Lin Yuzhu, who was beside him, stared at Xiao Pingan from the moment she flew over. Her concern was written all over her face. When Xiao Pingan asked, Lin Yuzhu immediately replied. Feng Liu and the others only glanced at Lin Yuzhu, but did not say anything. Xiao Pingan was dumbfounded. Ah, what's a true sage master? A few days ago, did Brother Long feel that your secret mandala suddenly shook? I felt it. What's wrong? Xiao Pingan casually replied. Lin Yuzhu then told Xiao Pingan about the series of strange changes that had happened in the Undying Sea and the abyss below the Undying City. Putting aside the matters above the Undying City and the abyss below the Undying City, in just a few days, the insect race had practically swarmed out of their nests and pounced on the Abyss Fortress. The hidden insect race's caves all over the insect race's underground had all come out and launched a frenzied attack on all summoners. Other than the underground insect nest in the Undying City, almost all the insect nests in the god-slaying insect world had gone mad. They began to surge out of their nests in a frenzy, turning the entire god-slaying insect world upside down. The underground war of the Undying City began without any warning, just like that. However, it was not only the Undying City that was in chaos, but the entire god-slaying insect world. The exploding flame bug that was killed by the red-robed deacons of the Wan Shun sect had crawled out from an unknown underground crevice and directly rushed to the Undying City, causing the Undying City to be in chaos. All kinds of news had spread wildly in the Undying Sea. Everyone seemed to know that this strange change seemed to be related to the Sage Master. However, no one knew the specifics. No one knew what a true Sage Master was like. However, all kinds of news had spread everywhere. Everyone was saying that a true Sage Master had completely understood the mystery of the Sage Master's Realm Pearl and could impart knowledge to all the Realm Pearls, allowing them to fuse with all the Realm Pearls. This was something that had never happened since ancient times. This news made all the summoners go crazy. Hearing these changes, Xia Pingan revealed a shocked expression. However, his heart was in turmoil. This was because Xia Pingan had already felt that the strange changes in the Undying Sea and the insect race's abyss might be related to the Sage Master's realm pearl that he had fused with. Right now, he still couldn't impart knowledge to all the realm pearls. He hadn't fused with many realm pearls and could only impart knowledge to 64 realm pearls. He had only fused with one Sage Master's realm pearl. Why would there be such a huge commotion? Xia Pingan secretly took in a breath of cold air. If people knew that he was the one who caused this commotion, he would have to change his identity and run away. Otherwise, he would be sliced into pieces. Brother Long, our brothers from the Cloud Island Nine Sons have already returned to the Cloud Island to check out the situation outside. We were originally planning to hunt for a few realm pearls underground. Now that the Undying City is no longer safe, the insect race has gone crazy. We are preparing to leave and return to the surface. We specially came to say goodbye to you. Feng Liu directly said to Xia Pingan. I have been immersed in cultivation for the past few days and forgot to refine soul tools for Brother Feng and the rest. Xia Pingan said embarrassedly. There is no rush. The future is long. Moreover, even if you can refine soul tools now, we are not ready yet. Our souls are not strong enough, and we can't split our souls. Let's talk about it in the future. All right, let's talk about it in the future. In that case, let's meet again. All right, third sister, do you have something to say to Brother Long? We will wait for you over there. After Feng Liu finished speaking, he gave Old 5, Old 7, and Old 8 a look. After bidding farewell to Xia Pingan, they flew off into the distance. Xia Pingan looked at Lien Yuzhu. Miss Lien, do you have something to say to me? Lien Yuzhu bit her lips and suddenly looked straight into Xia Pingan's eyes. Her gaze was fiery and she mustered her courage. I have you in my heart. I wonder if you have me in your heart? Damn, how could a beauty like me with this appearance? Xia Pingan scratched his head and didn't know how to answer. All right, you don't have to say anymore. I already know. Lien Yuzhu suddenly broke into a smile. She seemed to have recovered her bold and straightforward appearance. She took out the gold coin with Xia Pingan's handprint and waved it in front of Xia Pingan. I was just joking with you. I originally wanted to arrange a time for you to refine a soul tool for me. If your sect has something to do, let's talk about it in the future. Take care of yourself. After saying this, Lien Yuzhu turned around and flew away without looking back. Seeing Lien Yuzhu fly away, Xia Pingan took a deep breath and flew directly in the direction of the Hall of Responsibility. After a while, Xia Pingan flew to the Hall of Responsibility. The square outside the Hall of Responsibility was filled with disciples of the Wanshan sect. A row of red-clothed deacons stood solemnly at the entrance of the Hall of Affairs with their hands clasped behind their backs. All the inner disciples who came here stood in front of their respective commander deacons, while the outer disciples all stood in the square. Xia Pingan also saw Liang Tian. In front of Liang Tian stood dozens of official disciples of the Wan Shun sect in white robes and a few in black robes. Liang Tian also saw Xia Pingan and waved at Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan's mage robe attracted a lot of attention as soon as he arrived. Many people in the crowd looked at him. Xia Pingan seemed to be able to feel that those gazes seemed to be saying, this person is a soul master who just joined the Wanshan sect. Deacon Liang. Xia Pingan didn't look sideways and flew directly in front of Liang Tian. Why are you so late? Liang Tian frowned slightly and looked at Xia Pingan from head to toe. I just said goodbye to a few friends. Have the two realm pearls merged? Merged? Xia Pingan nodded. How's the merging of the realm pearls? Have you mastered any realm pearls enlightenment method? Xia Pingan's heart skipped a beat, but his expression was one of shame. I've fused with the Sacred Master Realm bead, but I haven't fully grasped the secrets of the Sacred Master Hall, so I haven't grasped any of the Sacred Master Realm bead's secret techniques. It doesn't matter. The realm pearls of the Sage Master can be comprehended slowly after merging with them. Maybe you will gain something in the future, Liang Tian said matter-of-factly. Most people who merged with the realm pearls of the Sage Master were like this. The real Sage Masters were those who were extremely talented after merging with the realm pearls. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't have thought that the person who shook the entire god-slaying insect world and Yuanxia world was the person in front of him. No one knew what a real Sage Master was like. Most people imagined a real Sage Master to be a peerless expert who could become a god at any time in 10,000 years. They would never have thought that a real Sage Master would be this bald man who had just entered the ethereal opening realm and looked a little rough. Deacon Liang is right. After Xia Pinggan finished speaking, he wanted to shrink to the back of the group. You can stand here. Liang Tian pointed to the position beside him. Xia Pinggan could only brace himself and stand beside Liang Tian expressionlessly. He used the back of his head to feel the gazes of countless people around him. Fortunately, those gazes didn't have much enmity, only curiosity. Xia Pinggan casually glanced at them and found that many of them were trying to curry favor with him. The person standing beside Deacon Liang Tian is the Soul Master who just joined the 10,000 God sect? It seems so. You can see the black and gold patterns on his sleeves. What's that person's name? I think he's called Long Huan. I heard that the soul tools he refines are very powerful. Chapter 445. Xia Pinggan's ears were very sensitive. Although he was standing, the whispers from the crowd still reached his ears. This kind of occasion was rare. Almost all the important people in the Immortal City had appeared. I didn't expect Master Fire Crow to come too. Master Fire Crow is here. There was a commotion in the crowd at the entrance of the manager's hall. When Xia Pinggan turned his head, he saw Deacon Ling accompanying an old man wearing a black mage robe from the Wan Shin sect. The old man flew over and stood in front of the group. The old man had a horse face and a little goatee. He looked like he had taken good care of himself. He looked like a prince, but when he looked at people, his face was slightly raised and his nose was raised. He looked like a tsundere. A black mage robe in the Wan Shun sect symbolized the cultivation of the Seven Sun realm. Looking at the commotion caused by the old man, one could imagine the old man's reputation in the Immortal City. He was definitely a top figure. No wonder he caused such a commotion. Xia Pinggan remembered looking for Master Fire Crow before. There were summoners queuing outside Master Fire Crow's shop, waiting to refine soul tools. The quota was arranged until 4 or 5 years later, which was a bit exaggerated. Master Fire Crow's reputation in the Immortal City was much greater than Xia Pinggan's. I didn't expect Master Fire Crow to join the Wan Shin sect. Exclamations came from the crowd. Of course, as long as the price is right, who can refuse? I heard that the Wan Shun sect promised Master Fire Crow the God Spring to advance to the energy-shaping realm. Not many people can get the God Spring. No wonder. Listening to the voices around him, Xia Pinggan thought for a while. Master Fire Crow was originally refining soul tools in the Immortal City, which was indirectly serving the Wan Shin sect. The Wan Shin sect was in such a hurry to recruit soul masters and even promised such benefits. It was probably not as simple as just wanting soul masters to refine soul tools for the Wan Shin sect. Xia Pinggan looked at Liang Tian. What Liang Tian said to him last time seemed to be hinting at something. Looks like I have to be more careful. Perhaps there was something dangerous waiting for me behind the scenes. Just as Xia Pinggan was pondering, he felt a piercing gaze landing on his face. He turned his head and saw that Grandmaster Fire Crow had turned his head and was staring at him. His eyebrows were slightly raised and his mouth was tightly pursed. His gaze was somewhat unfriendly and seemed to be filled with hostility. Damn it, when did I offend him? I didn't owe him any money, and I didn't dig up his ancestral graves. Why did he have such an expression? With this thought in mind, Xia Pinggan glared back. The corner of Grandmaster Fire Crow's mouth lifted, revealing a trace of a sneer. He turned his head and whispered a few words to Deacon Ling beside him. Deacon Ling turned his head to look at Xia Pinggan and nodded slightly, as if confirming Xia Pinggan's identity with Grandmaster Firecrow. At this moment, Xiao Pingon heard Deacon Liang's voice. Deacon Liang didn't turn his head, but he seemed to have already sensed something. The one over there who is wearing a black robe with golden cuffs is Grandmaster Firecrow from Immortal City. You have to be more careful in the future. That person might not be friendly to you. Why, I didn't offend him, Xiao Pingon gloomily asked. People of the same trade are enemies. Haven't you heard of this phrase? You've already offended him, or maybe you just didn't realize it. Last time when I gave you 3 soul tools, one of the better ones was refined by Grandmaster Firecrow. The soul tool you refined for Guiqing took it out to show off, saying that it was better than the one refined by Grandmaster Firecrow. The soul tool that was fused with was more abundant. When Grandmaster Firecrow heard this, he felt that you stole his limelight. If this isn't offending him, then what is? F***CK. Xiao Pingon was gloomy. If Grandmaster Firecrow's soul tool was compared to the soul tools refined by other soul masters, it should be slightly better. However, in his eyes, Grandmaster Firecrow's soul tool was refined like **T. He had already been so low-key, pinching his nose and suppressing his own strength, but he didn't expect that he would still be envied by others and become their enemy. This was an unexpected disaster. All right, what is the name of the red-robed deacon beside Grandmaster Firecrow? That is Deacon Ling, called Ling Wujio. Deacon Ling and I don't get along well. I am now your commander, Deacon. Be careful that Deacon Ling doesn't spit on you. Deacon Liang is telling me this is secret among the deacons of Immortal City? Liang Tian turned his head to look at Xiao Pingon and said indifferently, "This isn't considered a secret. My personality is different from his, it's just that we can't get together. Moreover, there is also competition between deacons. The higher-ups also want to see this kind of competition. It's not that easy to stand out in Wan Shun's sect." Xiao Pingon nodded his head. Other than Grandmaster Firecrow, there were 2 other soul masters. Xiao Pingon also saw them. The other 2 soul masters were like him, wearing white robes with golden patterns on the cuffs. Each of them stood beside a red-robed deacon. Compared to Grandmaster Firecrow, the 2 soul masters didn't have such obvious hostility towards Xiao Pingon. When they saw Xiao Pingon looking at them, they turned their heads and nodded their heads at Xiao Pingon. Those 2 soul masters, the one with white sideburns and a scholarly temperament, is called Feng Yu, and the one with a black face is called Luo Yundi. They are both newly recruited soul masters from Wan Shun's sect. Liang Tian's voice sounded. Ahem, Deacon Liang, why don't you tell me secretly why Wan Shun's sect is suddenly so anxious to recruit soul masters? It can't be just for a few soul tools, right? Why do I feel a little guilty? Xiao Pingon asked with a salivating face. Liang Tian glanced at Xiao Pingon. 5 soul tools. What? Xiao Pingon thought that he had heard wrongly. If you refine 5 soul tools for me, I will tell you the reason. Liang Tian asked for a bribe so straightforwardly, which made Xiao Pingon somewhat uncomfortable. Don't look at me like that. Those soul tools are useful to me too. Even if I don't use them, I can still use them for other things. Don't tell me you think that just because I'm a red-robed sorcerer that I am above worldly affairs. Xiao Pingon gritted his teeth. Okay, then it's a deal. As long as Deacon Liang brings people here, I will refine 5 soul tools for you. That should be enough, right? Yes. Then Deacon Liang can tell me the reason why Wan Shun sect is recruiting soul masters. Don't tell me they want to sell us out. Liang Tian shrugged lightly and said casually, "Let's talk after the 5 soul tools are refined." Damn, these guys, none of them are easy to deal with. After waiting for a while, 3 managers wearing blue sorcerer robes walked out from the manager hall. Manager Fu, whom Xiao Pingon had met before, walked in the middle of the 3 managers with a solemn expression. Seeing Manager Fu's appearance, the voices outside the manager hall suddenly stopped. Manager Fu's dignified gaze swept across the entire place. These few days there have been strange changes in the god-slaying insect world. Everyone knows about it. The Abyss insect tribe is restless, and the insect tide is attacking. My Wan Shun sect's Immortal City and Abyss Fortress are the first to bear the brunt. Today, a nether passage realm explosive flame insect broke through the outer defense line of Immortal City and attacked Immortal City. The situation that Immortal City is facing now is extremely serious. Immortal City and Abyss Fortress are the foundation that my Wan Shun sect has painstakingly built. We cannot give it up so easily. Manager Fu's voice spread throughout the entire Immortal City. Some people stopped being excited while others were frightened. Xiaopinggan didn't feel much when he heard it. In history, there were too many people who said the same thing. He knew that the so-called fight to the death was only Wan Shun's sect's attitude. When the benefits were greater than the effort, Wan Shun's sect's attitude was firm. But once the situation was completely reversed, they couldn't do anything. It was just Immortal City. Wan Shun's sect could give it up just like that. They couldn't endlessly invest their strength in a gamble where the cost was less than the benefits. From now on, all the inner disciples must listen to my orders. Outer disciples who are afraid can leave now. But if they leave now, they will never be able to step into Wan Shun's sect's territory. For the outer disciples who stay, Wan Shun's sect will reward them with various rare realm pearls and soul tools based on their performance. The insect tied in front of us is not only a crisis, but also an opportunity for us to improve ourselves. Manager Fu said a bunch of words and then directly announced that Immortal City would send out a large group of summoners under the leadership of a manager to support the Abyss Fortress. At the same time, the city began to actively prepare for war. They arranged for small teams to patrol and consolidate the defensive line outside the city. They also seized the opportunity to kill the insect tribe and made preparations for the war. In order to motivate those outer disciples, after Manager Fu finished speaking, he directly named those outer disciples who had performed outstandingly recently and rewarded them with 10 soul tools. In an instant, it caused a commotion among the outer disciples. After Manager Fu finished speaking, Liang Tian brought Xiaopinggan directly into the manager hall and came to Manager Fu's office in the manager hall. Master Fire Crow, Feng Yu, and Luo Yundi also came together with their respective commanders and deacons. The 4 soul masters of Immortal City officially met here for the first time. 4 masters, you're all soul masters of Immortal City and can be considered as the elites among the disciples. Immortal City is now facing a crisis and urgently needs soul tools to kill the enemy and boost the morale of Wan Shun's sect. In the future, I might have to trouble all of you. Manager Fu's gaze swept across the faces of the 4 of them. Ahem, since we've joined the Wan Shun sect, we're bound together for good or ill. At this time, it's natural for us to work for the Wan Shun sect. Manager Fu, you don't have to be polite. We'll do our best. Among the 4 soul masters, before Xiaopinggan spoke, Master Fire Crow had already taken the initiative to represent everyone to express their attitude. Looking at his appearance, he had already treated himself as the leader of the 4 soul masters. After speaking, he even glanced at Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan didn't say anything. Very good, since Master Firecrow said so. I am relieved. Manager Fu smiled. I have discussed with the other managers, and we are preparing to set up a Soul Tools Hall in Immortal City. This Soul Tools Hall is specially responsible for refining soul tools. Of course, we will also provide the necessary resources for the Soul Tools Hall. I am preparing to appoint Master Long Huan as the Hall Master of the Soul Tools Hall. What do you all think? When Master Firecrow heard about the Soul Tools Hall, his face lit up and the corner of his mouth revealed a smile. When he heard that Manager Fu was preparing to appoint Xiaopinggan as the Hall Master of the Soul Tools Hall, his face flushed red and he clenched his fists. I object. Master Firecrow jumped out immediately. Chapter 446. I also object. I ask Manager Fu to retract his order. Xiaopinggan bowed to Manager Fu and said directly. Everyone in the room was stunned. Everyone could see that Grandmaster Firecrow was not convinced by Xiaopinggan. It was natural for Grandmaster Firecrow to object to this appointment. But why would Xiaopinggan object? Even Grandmaster Firecrow himself was stunned. Grandmaster Fire Crow originally had a lot of things he wanted to say, but he didn't expect that even Xia Pingon would object to this suggestion. Those words that he hadn't said, yet couldn't help but be choked in his throat. He stared at Xia Pingon with a bewildered expression. He didn't know what kind of trick Xia Pingon was playing. Grandmaster Long Huan, what did you say? Don't tell me you don't want to be the Hall Master of the Soul Tools Hall? Manager Fu frowned slightly and asked Xia Pingon while looking at him. This position isn't randomly appointed. It's a judgment made by the Hall of Stewards based on the quality of the soul tools that several Grandmasters have refined before. Reporting to Manager Fu, I feel that Grandmaster Firecrow is more suitable for this position. Xia Pingon replied politely. Grandmaster Firecrow has been in the Undying City for many years. He should have refined a lot of soul tools for the summoners of the Undying City. Everyone in the Undying City knows about this. It can be said that he has worked hard and made great contributions. Furthermore, Grandmaster Firecrow's cultivation has already reached the Nether Passage realm, which is far above us. Grandmaster Firecrow, being the Hall Master of the Soul Tools Hall, will be more convincing. When I was refining soul tools previously, I mainly relied on external forces and borrowed a top-quality soul anchoring pearl. As Xia Pingon spoke, he directly took out his top-grade soul anchoring pearl and displayed it in front of everyone. As soon as the soul anchoring pearl was taken out, the entire room began to ripple with blue light waves. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and there was a different kind of aura of stability. Several soul masters opened their eyes wide and looked at the soul anchoring pearl in Xia Pingon's hand. This kind of soul anchoring pearl was a treasure that could only be encountered by chance and not sought after. After letting everyone take a look, Xia Pingon put away the soul anchoring pearl with a humble expression. Because of this soul anchoring pearl, I have a slight advantage in terms of wind soul techniques. That's how I was able to craft soul armaments. But when it comes to crafting soul armaments, I feel that Grandmaster Huya is better. That's why I recommend Grandmaster Huya to be the Hall Master of the Hall of Soul Armaments. Previously, when Xia Pingon showed his skills in crafting soul armaments, he wanted to gain a firm foothold in the Wanshin sect so that others would not look down on him. But if he was asked to be the Hall Master of the Hall of Soul Armaments and stand in such a conspicuous place, Xia Pingon would not do it. Others might not know, but the Blood Demon Church and Dream Demon should know. The so-called Dream Spirit Church's soul refining technique was actually a secret technique from the spiritual realm. At this moment, the Blood Demon Church was still chasing him all over the world. As a newcomer who had just entered the god-slaying insect world, if he suddenly used the soul refining technique to stand in such a conspicuous position in the Wanshin sect, wouldn't it be obvious that the Blood Demon Church would find trouble with him? Therefore, after Xia Pingon deliberated for a while, he wisely chose not to stand out at this moment. Grandmaster Hua, you did not expect Xia Pingon to say such words. He was so sensible. When he looked at Xia Pingon's eyes, he could not help but be surprised. He no longer looked at Xia Pingon with hostility like before. Manager Fu was also surprised. He pondered for a moment and looked at Feng Yu. Grandmaster Feng Yu, what do you think? Feng Yu smiled and acted as if he was not involved. I have just joined the Wanshin sect. I will listen to Manager Fu's arrangement. What about Grandmaster Luo Yundi? The black-faced Luo Yundi looked at Xia Pingon and Grandmaster Huya. He did not have the intention to argue. I know that my ability in crafting soul armaments is still lacking compared to Grandmaster Huya. I hope that I can continue to improve in the Hall of Soul Armaments in the future. In Luo Yundi's heart, he did not approve of Xia Pingon being the Hall Master of the Hall of Soul Armaments. There was only one reason. Xia Pingon and he were both summoners in the Reflection Realm. If Xia Pingon was the Hall Master of the Hall of Soul Armaments, wouldn't it show that they were incompetent? If Grandmaster Huya was the Hall Master, there would be 3 Reflection Realm Soul Masters under the Hall Master. This was much better. Manager Fu looked deeply at Xia Pingon. After pondering for a while, he decided to go with the flow. Since everyone has the same opinion, I will represent the Hall of Managers to announce that Grandmaster Hui will be the Hall Master of the Hall of Soul Armaments in the Immortal City. Grandmaster Huya, please accept the seal. As Manager Fu spoke, he took out a golden seal and handed it to Grandmaster Huya solemnly. Grandmaster Huya's face was filled with joy. He took 2 steps back and tidied his clothes. He bowed and received the golden seal with both hands. He raised the golden seal above his head and kept it. This golden seal was more of a symbol of a position. The encampment of the Soul Armaments Hall is on the 13th floor of the Hall of Managers. Everyone can go and take a look later. Right now, the situation in the Immortal City is grim. The Soul Armaments Hall has to take up its responsibility and raise the morale of the people in the Immortal City. We have to let all the disciples know that our Immortal City is strong and powerful. Therefore, all the masters will have to work hard. In the next month, I hope that the Soul Armaments Hall can provide 20 soul armaments. Is there any problem? Grandmaster Hua had just assumed the position of Hall Master of the Soul Armaments Hall. It was time for him to perform. How could he decline? He immediately said passionately, Manager Fu, please be at ease. In the next month, the Soul Armaments Hall will definitely provide 20 soul armaments for the Immortal City. 20 soul armaments. If they were divided evenly, a soul master would have to refine 5 soul armaments in a month. To Grandmaster Hoya and the others, this workload was indeed a little heavy. However, it wasn't impossible. It was just like working overtime. It was just that it was a little torturous and it would even consume a little of the soul. From today onwards, the red-robed deacons will still be the commander deacons of the masters. However, the task of refining soul armaments will be given out by the Soul Armament Hall. The other tasks will still be handled by the commander deacons. All right, if there's nothing else, everyone can leave first. Grandmaster Hoya, please stay. Manager Fu spoke. Xiao Pingon followed the others and left Manager Fu's office. When he was leaving, Xiao Pingon heard Grandmaster Hoya's voice. Everyone, please wait for me at the Soul Armaments Hall on the 13th floor. When they walked out of the office, Liang Tian gave a look and pulled Xiao Pingon to one side. With a wave of his hand, he cut off the conversation between the two. Just now, why did you reject the position of Hall Master of the Soul Armaments Hall? If you were to fight for it, Manager Fu would definitely let both of you refine soul armaments at the same time to judge. With your ability, you should be slightly better than Grandmaster Hoya. Liang Tian had wanted to say these words in the office just now. However, at that time, he was in front of Manager Fu. If he were to transmit his voice, it would be too unruly. Therefore, he held it in until now. Cough, cough, Deacon Liang, my ability is limited. I feel that Grandmaster Hua is more suitable for this position. Xiao Pingon laughed. The position of Hall Master of the Soul Armaments Hall isn't as simple as refining a few soul armaments. You can come into contact with a lot of things. It's an opportunity to come into contact with the upper echelons of the Wanshin sect. It's really a pity for you to give it up just like that. Deacon Liang Tian shook his head. Cough, cough. Wait until I advance to the ethereal opening realm. Xiao Pingon spread out his hands. As for coming into contact with the upper echelons, Xiao Pingon didn't take it to heart. He was already hunted down by the demigod and sovereign demon god. This should be considered as coming into contact with the upper echelons. No matter how much he came into contact with the upper echelons of the Wanshin sect, they wouldn't exceed the demigod level. Liang Tian nodded. Okay, then don't forget our agreement. In 2 days, I'll send someone to find you. Can you help me refine my first soul armament when you're free? Deacon Liang, why do I feel like I've fallen into a trap? Xiao Pingon smiled bitterly. Liang Tian looked at Xiao Pingon with a faint smile. Why? Do you want to go back on your word? It's not too late if you want to go back on your word. Xiao Pingon laughed. Haha, you're kidding. Even if I delay the matters of the Soul Armament Hall, I can't delay your matters. Deacon Liang, you can't delay the matters of the Soul Armament Hall. I can't bear such a crime. Capable people have more work to do. I know you can do it. Liang Tian patted Xiao Pingon's shoulder with a smile and then left. Looking at Liang Tian's back, Xiao Pingon touched his nose turned around, and went downstairs to the 13th floor of the manager hall. On the 13th floor of the manager hall, there was indeed a soul armament hall. The black plate of the soul armament hall, with golden words, was hung on the opposite side of the staircase on the 13th floor. At the entrance of the soul armament hall, there were 2 summoned iron-armored guards, which looked a bit awe-inspiring. Inside the soul armament hall, there was a screen wall. In front of the screen wall, there was a summoned beauty in ancient clothing, who was responsible for receiving guests. "Welcome back to the Soul Armament Hall, Master Long Huan." The summoned beauty in ancient clothing smiled and bowed to Xia Pingon. Damn, the intelligence of these summoned people was too high. They could actually recognize his identity. There was a large hall in the Soul Armament Hall. Outside the hall, there were different secret rooms. Looking at the layout, it seemed like he could directly help people refine soul armaments. Xia Pingon entered the Soul Armament Hall and saw that Feng Yu and Luo Yundi had already arrived. The 2 of them were chatting in the hall. "Master Feng Yu, Master Luo Yundi, it's an honor to meet you." Xia Pingon smiled and cupped his hands. Feng Yu and Luo Yundi also stood up. "Master Long Huan, it's an honor to meet you." When the 3 of them met, they greeted each other politely. Just as they finished greeting each other, Master Fire Crow returned. Master Fire Crow was full of smiles. As soon as he entered the hall, he sat on the main seat and looked around. "Everyone, we are officially acquainted today. There's no need to be polite. Manager Fu asked me to stay and chat with me for a while. Now that the god-slaying insect world is in chaos, the Wanshun sect's demand for soul armaments has greatly increased. Our soul armament hall's burden is not light. Within this month, there will be 20 soul armaments. Each of us will refine 5 soul armaments. That's one every 6 days. How about this? Hall Master, refining soul armaments is of course not a problem. It's just that refining soul armaments will consume our divine soul. With such a high intensity of refining, I'm afraid it won't last long." Feng Yu said. "The sect has already considered this problem," Master Fire Crow said. With a move of his hand, he took out 3 white jade bottles. With a wave of his hand, he actually summoned 3 beautiful maids to fill them up. The 3 maids each took a bottle and slowly came to Xia Pingon and the other 2. They handed the bottles to the 3 of them and then retreated to the side. This bottle contains the white dew soul replenishing pill refined by the Wanshin sect. Its effect is better than the soul strengthening pill. This pill can replenish everyone's divine soul consumption. In the future, everyone will take 1 bottle every month. Everyone get ready. We will need your help later," Master Fire Crow said. His gaze turned to Xia Pingon, and he continued to act arrogantly. "I heard that Master Long Huan has just mastered the art of refining soul armaments. He still needs to continue training in the future. A true soul master, after becoming strong, will rely less on the soul anchoring pearl. If you always rely on the soul anchoring pearl to refine soul armaments, it will be difficult to improve your skills." Xia Pingon smiled. "Hall Master is right. In the future, I will need your guidance." Chapter 447. 10 days later, in the secret room of the Soul Tool Hall, Xia Pingon opened his eyes and stretched out his hand. The soul anchoring pearl landed on Xia Pingon's hand like a feather. Xia Pingon kept the soul anchoring pearl and stretched out his finger. He lightly tapped the blue light cocoon opposite him, and the light cocoon shattered. Inside the light cocoon, a fierce-looking outer disciple of the Wanshun sect was sitting cross-legged. He was wearing an eye patch and had only one eye. The outer disciple was wearing a yellow magician robe with leather armor, and he was holding a sawtooth weapon that was flashing with a layer of red light. When the light cocoon shattered, the outer sect disciple opened his only eye and looked at the weapon in his hand. His face was instantly filled with surprise. "Thank you, Master Long Huan." The outer disciple immediately put away the soul tool in his hand and stood up. He bowed respectfully to Xia Pingon and then grinned. He even waved the sawtooth weapon in his hand and seemed very satisfied. This time, I feel that this soul breaker saw will definitely be able to break through the mantis blade bug's armor. This soul tool has just been refined. You better nourish it for at least 3 days. It will be easier to use it. Xiao Pingan pretended to be weak as he spoke. He then took out the white, dew soul replenishing pill and swallowed another pill. Master, my name is Ming Tao. I will be returning to the Abyss Fortress in a few days. If you have any problems in the future, feel free to look for me. The outer disciple said straightforwardly. In the eyes of a summoner, a soul master was like a doctor in the eyes of an ordinary person. They were both people worth befriending, so this big man was very polite. All right, how's the battle at the Abyss Fortress? Xiao Pingan asked. It's very intense. The fortress heavy cannons are still blocking the main passageways and space in the abyss. However, some insects are very smart and will take a detour. Our mission at the Abyss Fortress is to kill those insects and destroy their passageways. If we can't defeat them, we will retreat to the Abyss Formation. The Abyss Fortress is fine for a short period of time, but it's hard to say after a long time. Ming Tao said. Xiao Pingan nodded. It seemed like the Immortal City would not fall in a short period of time. Then you have to be more careful. Haha, don't worry. With a few more mantis blade insects, I'll have 200 insect crystals. As Ming Tao spoke, he waved his hand and a realm pearl appeared in his hand. He handed it to Xiao Pingan and said, Grandmaster, you've worked hard these 2 days. This is a realm pearl of divine power that I obtained in the abyss a few days ago. It's just a token of my appreciation. Please accept it. You're welcome. You're welcome. Refining a soul tool for you is a reward from the 10,000 Deities sect, and it's also my mission. How can I take your things? Xiao Pingan hurriedly declined with a serious expression. Ha ha. The sect is the sect, and we're different. We each have our own business. If Grandmaster doesn't accept it, then you're looking down on me. Thank you very much. Xiao Pingan could only accept the divine power realm bead. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. Xiao Pingan opened the secret room and sent Ming Tao out. When he walked to the hall, he happened to see Grandmaster Fire Crow walking over from the side with his hands behind his back. Greetings, Hall Master. Greetings, Grandmaster Fire Crow. The two of them bowed to Grandmaster Fire Crow. In the past few days, after Grandmaster Fire Crow became the Hall Master of the Soul Tool Hall, he became even more famous in the Immortal City. Many people said that Grandmaster Fire Crow was the #1 Soul Master in the Immortal City. Those 10,000 Deities sect disciples who came to the Soul Tool Hall to refine soul tools would first think of Grandmaster Fire Crow. As for Long Huan, Feng Yu, and Luo Yundi, Grandmaster Fire Crow distributed the remaining talents to the three of them. The people who came to refine soul tools were all different. The stronger the soul, the easier it was to split the soul. For soul masters, there were still some differences. Is the soul tool done? Grandmaster Fire Crow asked Ming Tao with a cordial expression. Looking at Xiao Pingan's exhausted face, he was extremely satisfied. Thank you, Grandmaster Longhuan. The soul tool is done. Ming Tao said. Oh, let me see how it is. Ming Tao didn't think much and took out the soul tool he just refined and handed it over to Grandmaster Fire Crow. Taking the soul armament into his hands, Grandmaster Hoya let out a sigh of relief. Compared to the soul armaments he crafted, this soul armament didn't have as much soul as the ones he crafted. The only difference was that the soul armament was more evenly distributed. Taking into account the effects of Long Huan's soul anchoring pearl, Grandmaster Huya knew that the soul armament Long Huan crafted wasn't able to overshadow the soul armaments Grandmaster Huya crafted. This was the 5th soul armament Long Huan had crafted in the Hall of Soul Armaments. The quality of each soul armament was about the same. Compared to Long Huan's soul armament, Long Huan's soul armament was slightly inferior. That wasn't surprising to Long Huan. The reason why Long Huan's Eagle Strike crossbow was better than Long Huan's was probably because Long Huan wanted to show off. Long Huan had sacrificed a portion of his soul to the crossbow. To a soul cultivator, that kind of thing was a losing business. It was fine to do it once or twice, but to do it 4 or 5 times a month was definitely out of the question. Who would be able to endure it? Not bad at all. Grandmaster Dragon Fantasy has put a lot of effort into crafting this soul armament. There's no problem with this soul armament, Grandmaster Fire Crow said as he returned the soul armament to Ming Tao. Ming Tao was also very happy, so he took his soul armament and left. Hallmaster, this month's task of refining soul tools has been completed. I've used up quite a bit of energy these past few days. If there's nothing else, I'll return to my residence to rest for a while. I'll return to the Soul Tool Hall when the task comes next month, Xia Pingan said to Grandmaster Fire Crow. Grandmaster Fire Crow gave Xia Pingan a rare smile. His voice was much more amiable. Yes, yes. Everyone has worked hard these past few days. Our Soul Tool Hall has completed the task given to us by Overseer Fu ahead of time. You can return first. If there's anything else, I'll let you know. Yes. Xia Pingan bowed slightly to Grandmaster Fire Crow. Then, under Grandmaster Fire Crow's satisfied gaze, he walked out of the door of the Soul Tool Hall. Seeing Xia Pingan leave, Grandmaster Fire Crow nodded. This Long Huan was quite sensible. Since he was sensible and obedient, there was no need for him to make things difficult for Long Huan. If Long Huan were to quit, it wouldn't look good for him as the Hall Master of the Soul Tool Hall. Overseer Fu would definitely think that he didn't manage his subordinates well, was intolerant, and didn't look at the big picture. That wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good for his development in the Wanshan sect. Xia Pingan walked out of the Hall of Duty and let out a long sigh. At this moment, because many people were transferred to the Abyss Stronghold and some people left the Immortal City, some people were stationed outside the city. Compared to the past, the Immortal City was slightly bleak. The number of people on the streets had suddenly decreased by half. Although it didn't seem right, these days were the most tense period in the Immortal City. However, Xia Pingan had been exceptionally relaxed these days. Xia Pingan walked directly to his residence in the Heavenly Shine Alley. It had been exactly 10 days since the gathering in the Hall of Duty. In these 10 days, he had been working nonstop in the Soul Tool Hall. He had already helped 5 disciples of the Wanshan sect to refine soul tools. Of course, the so-called tiredness was actually an act. Other soul masters needed to consume a lot of energy to refine soul tools. However, for Xia Pingan, refining soul tools for others was like a doctor giving injections. Other than spending a little time, there was almost no consumption. And because of the nourishment of the bottle of white dew spirit replenishing pills and the top-grade soul-stabilizing pearls, not only did his divine soul not consume any energy, it even grew a little. At this moment, he felt refreshed and his brain was full of wisdom. Other gains were the 3 realm pearls. They were all adults. Ming Tao was not the only sensible summoner in the Wanshan sect. Many summoners would not miss the opportunity to make friends with soul masters. Moreover, the soul tools refined by Xia Pingan were indeed not bad. At least, they did not look worse than Master Fire Crow's. This task was really not bad. It was not dangerous at all. The realm pearls came to him, and everything was stable. Xia Pingan estimated that even if he went out to hunt those insects, he might not be able to get 3 rare realm pearls so easily in these 3 days. He returned to Heavenly Shine Alley Spirit 98 alone and opened the door of the courtyard. The formation in the courtyard was operating normally and nothing had changed. Xia Pingan summoned Boy Fortune God and the Black Dragon. He made something to eat in the kitchen. After eating, he went straight to the secret room. He first threw out the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation to protect the secret room. Then, he summoned Xuanwu to guard the secret room. Xia Pingan was not in a hurry to fuse with the 3 realm pearls. Instead, he directly entered the Spirit World God Palace in the secret mandala. It had been a long time since he entered the Spirit World. Especially since he advanced to the 6th Sun Realm, he had not entered the Spirit World. So this time, he just happened to return to the Spirit World to take a look. After entering the Spirit World God Palace and passing through the Golden Arch Door, Xia Pingan soon arrived at the Spirit World of the Immortal City. The entire Spirit World was filled with thick fog and was unpredictable. 2 Spirit World portals to different worlds stood in 2 different directions of the Immortal City Spirit World. facing each other from a distance. Xiao Pingan had not been there before and did not know where the portal led to. However, Xiao Pingan was not in a hurry. He directly ran towards the spirit world portal on Earth. He had not finished exploring the spirit world on Earth. So far, he was still circling around a fortress. So, he would think about it later. After passing through the flickering white vortex in the middle of the arched door, when the dazzling white light disappeared, Xiao Pingan had already appeared in the previous fortress. Before Xiao Pingan could see the scene in front of him clearly rumble, a deafening roar entered Xiao Pingan's ears. The ground of the entire fortress was trembling. It was as if a person was standing in front of a speeding train. When Xiao Pingan saw the situation in front of him clearly, he was instantly shocked. The entire sky of the fortress was protected by an energy barrier. In the sky outside the barrier, there were flying horseshoe critters everywhere. At first glance, there were more than 100 horseshoe critters. Just as Xiao Pingan was staring at the horseshoe critters in the sky, a huge rock the size of a house with burning flames flew over from afar like a meteor with a trail of black smoke behind it. It heavily slammed into the energy barrier of the fortress again and shattered it, causing a huge roar and tremor. "Your Majesty, you're back." Elder Mu appeared in front of Xiao Pingan. The brilliance on his body had dimmed by half. He was like a candle in the wind, and his voice was weak. Chapter 448. Xiao Pingan didn't hesitate to grab Elder Mu's hand. Xiao Pingan's soul force turned into specks of golden light. They were like fireflies as they landed on Elder Mu's body and were absorbed by him. Elder Mu's body started to reform as Xiao Pingan's soul force poured into him. His body started to shine brightly as he returned to his original appearance. "Your Majesty, that's enough. I'm fine. Don't waste your precious soul force." Xiao Pingan only stopped after transferring about 2 slices of soul force to Elder Mu. He furrowed his brows and looked at the sky, as well as the huge burning rocks that kept flying over from afar. He asked, "What's going on? When your Majesty appeared at the stronghold last time, you killed some beetles and zombies in the wilderness. That alarmed the other beetles and zombies around the stronghold. After your Majesty left the stronghold was surrounded by the beetles and zombies. Fortunately, the stronghold was still functioning normally. Those beetles and zombies didn't attack. Otherwise, your Majesty would have been in trouble." Elder Mu said calmly. "The stronghold has been surrounded?" "Yes." Elder Mu nodded. "Let's go and take a look. Please follow me, your Majesty." Elder Mu's figure floated within the stronghold as he led Xiao Pingan to the top of the stronghold's gate tower. Xiao Pingan arrived at the top of the stronghold's gate tower not long after. He could finally see the situation outside the stronghold. The entire stronghold was covered by a huge energy barrier. Thousands of ugly green-skinned zombies roamed the plains 5,000 to 6,000 meters away from the stronghold. There were thousands of green-skinned zombies and other types of zombies gathered together to form a huge and chaotic military camp. Besides the green-skinned puppets, Xiao Pingan also saw hundreds of huge caterpillars flying in the wilderness above the barracks. What made Xiao Pingan more surprised was that he also saw some human-like monsters in the barracks. Those human-like monsters were wearing black armors, had hands and feet, and walked upright. They had a layer of scales on their heads, faces, and bodies, and even had tails behind them. Surrounded by those caterpillars and puppets, those monsters were pointing at the fortress in the center of the barracks. There was also a 100-meter-tall metal giant in the camp. It was hurling huge, flaming rocks at the stronghold. The metal giant was too shocking. Its entire body was flashing with a layer of slightly rusty metallic luster. The giant bent down and grabbed the ground with its hand. It could grab a house-sized stone or soil from the ground. When the giant clenched its hand, the thing it grabbed would burn and then fiercely throw it over. It was like releasing a flaming meteor with peerless power. A monster was standing on the metal giant's head, as if it was commanding the metal giant's actions. The stronghold's energy barrier was one way. It was like a special kind of frosted glass. Those inside the stronghold could see the situation outside through the energy barrier, but those outside couldn't see the situation inside the stronghold. Xia Pingan and Elder Mu went up to the stronghold's wall. Those outside still didn't notice anything different inside the stronghold. Were those human-like monsters? And where did they find that metal giant? Xia Pingan asked. Your Majesty, those human-like monsters you mentioned are the horseshoe beetles. Oh, what? Those monsters are horseshoe beetles? Xia Pingan was surprised. Yes, they evolved from horseshoe beetles. The higher the rank of the horseshoe beetle, the more human-like it will evolve. Elder Mu explained that metal giant was the stronghold's flaming guardian ape. Flaming guardian ape? Yes, that's right. The flaming guardian ape has boundless strength and can use fire spells. It can be considered the stronghold's guard. But later on, the stronghold encountered a huge change. The flaming guardian ape went outside to exterminate the horseshoe beetles and zombie puppets. Its core soul stone was contaminated by demonic chi, so it was controlled by the horseshoe beetles. Xia Pingan looked at the zombie puppets and horseshoe beetles outside the stronghold and licked his lips. These things were naturally a threat to the stronghold, but to him, they were walking soul power and nourishment. As long as he could kill them, his soul power would definitely increase explosively, and he should be able to advance to become an intermediate spirit shepherd. However, with so many horseshoe beetles and zombie puppets gathered together, it would be difficult to deal with them. There was also the seemingly invincible flaming guardian ape. He had to think of a way. Can you find a way to control the flaming guardian ape? Xia Pingan asked Elder Mu. Elder Mu was silent for a moment. Unless the flaming guardian ape's soul stone is purified again and the demonic chi in the flaming guardian ape's soul stone is expelled. But to purify the flaming guardian ape's soul stone, the only way is to re-inject the flaming guardian ape's soul stone with clean soul power. Is my current soul power enough to purify the flaming guardian ape's soul stone? Elder Mu had already guessed what Xia Pingan wanted to do. He shook his head. I'm not sure. I don't know to what extent the flaming guardian ape's soul stone has been contaminated, so I can't determine the soul power needed to purify the soul stone. Where's the flaming guardian ape's soul stone? It's on his head, in the place between his eyebrows that protrudes like a vertical eye. Your Majesty, I know what you want to do. It's too risky. In this case, if we don't take the risk, we can only passively take a beating. It's possible that more and more horseshoe beetles and zombie puppets will gather around the fortress. There will also be a day when the fortress's defense forces will collapse. If the fortress collapses, I can retreat, but what about you? So, we still have to take the necessary risks. I already have a plan in mind. You just need to cooperate with me. At this time, Xia Pingan showed his domineering side. Once he made up his mind, he would not waver. Elder Mu was also a very straightforward and bold person. When Xia Pingan said this, Elder Mu glanced at Xia Pingan with appreciation and gratification in his eyes. Only such a person could shoulder the heavy responsibility of revitalizing the spiritual realm. Elder Mu instantly made up his mind. Your Majesty, if you're not afraid of danger, I have a way. Tell me about it. Wait a few hours. After it gets dark here, the spirits in the sky will appear. The flaming guardian ape will stop, and the horseshoe beetles will also absorb the energy of the spirits. At that time, I'll let the 2 stone guards rush out of the fortress and attack to attract the attention of the zombie puppets and the horseshoe beetles. Your Majesty will take the opportunity to approach the flaming guardian ape and rush into the camp of the zombie puppets and the horseshoe beetles to complete the purification of the flaming guardian ape's soul stone. Haha, this plan is the same as what I thought. It's just that your Majesty will enter the enemy camp alone. There will be danger everywhere. If you're not careful, you'll be surrounded and your life will be in danger. Those evolved horseshoe beetles are more difficult to deal with than ordinary horseshoe beetles. Chapter 449. The boulders thrown by the flaming guardian ape continued to hit the protective shield of the stronghold like meteors. Each time, the ground of the stronghold trembled slightly. Xiao Pingon waited quietly in the stronghold. Apart from the flaming guardian ape, the other zombies and larvae were unable to attack the stronghold, nor did they dare to get too close. They seemed to have become numb to such attacks. Most of the zombies gathered in the barracks, while others wandered around the stronghold and surrounded it. A few hours later, the sky in the spiritual realm gradually darkened. After waiting for a while, a little bit of starlight appeared in the sky. The starlight was the human spirits that had entered the spiritual realm. As the sky darkened and the spirits appeared, the low-level larvae that had been entrenched in the sky above the stronghold and in the barracks began to swim towards the stars that appeared in the sky. The flaming guardian ape's attack frequency gradually slowed down, and then it stopped. By the time the starry sky appeared, there were no longer any low-level larvae around the stronghold. There were only zombies and monsters that looked like humans entrenched near the barracks. They even lit bonfires. From a distance, the barracks looked very lively and relaxed. The screams of the green-skinned zombies reverberated in the wilderness and could be heard from afar. The huge flaming guardian ape was still standing in the barracks, motionless, leaving only a huge shadow in the wilderness. Xiao Pingon was ready. "Your Majesty, I will make the stronghold's protective shield disappear temporarily in a moment. At the same time, I will send 2 stone guardians out of the stronghold's main gate. When the stronghold's protective shield disappears, Your Majesty can rush out from the side of the stronghold, hide your figure, and approach the barracks from the side. The stone guardians will try their best to attract the attention of the zombies and larvae. However, if Your Majesty's whereabouts are revealed before you approach the barracks, or if you are surrounded in the barracks, it will be impossible. Your Majesty, please evacuate quickly," Elder Moose said to Xiao Pingon. "Okay, I got it." Xiao Pingon nodded. "Get ready." After saying that, Xiao Pingon slid down from the gate tower and ran towards the side of the fortress. After being 4 to 5 kilometers away from the front of the fortress and away from the gazes of those zombies and monsters in the barracks, Xiao Pingon stopped near the protective cover of the fortress. He then crouched on the ground and waited for the protective cover of the fortress to disappear. After waiting for a few minutes, the protective shield of the fortress disappeared in an instant. The moment the protective shield disappeared, Xiao Pingon did not stand up. Instead, he rolled out of the fortress's protective area. In the distance, opposite the fortress, the moment the protective shield disappeared, 2 stone guardians with glowing red eyes rushed out of the protective shield and strode towards the barracks in the distance. The fortress's protective shield was too conspicuous, especially at night. Therefore, as soon as the protective shield disappeared, the zombies and monsters in the barracks who were wandering around and doing nothing immediately noticed the abnormality of the fortress. At the same time, they saw the 2 stone guardians rushing out of the fortress. Squeak, squeak. Those green-skinned zombies screeched and rushed towards the 2 stone guardians. The 2 sides quickly collided in the wilderness between the fortress and the barracks. A fierce battle broke out in an instant. The stone guardians strode forward and brandished the flail and heavy sword in their hands. In the blink of an eye, several green-skinned zombies in front of them were turned into meat paste. The corpses in front of the stone protectors, especially the green-skinned corpses, simply weren't a match for the stone protectors. The stone protectors brandished their weapons and sent the green-skinned corpses flying one by one. Some of the green-skinned corpses were even lifted up by the stone protectors and stomped heavily on their bodies, causing them to explode. As soon as the zombies died, the remaining soul power in their bodies floated like fireflies in the wilderness. In the blink of an eye, they were devoured by the other green-skinned zombies. It seemed that the stone guardians of the stronghold could not directly absorb the soul power of the zombies they killed, unlike the spirit herders. Some green-skinned zombies even tore at each other in order to devour the soul force of their companions, causing quite a bit of chaos. 2 monster-like high-ranking beetles flew over from behind the zombies. With a strange roar, they pointed at the 2 stone guardians. The ground of the wilderness suddenly turned into a large area of quicksand. The two stone guardians were immediately trapped by the quicksand. Most of their feet sank into the quicksand and were unable to break free. They were completely trapped. As the zombies rushed forward, the stone guardians trapped in the quicksand continued to brandish their weapons and kill the zombies that rushed over. However, the more the stone guardians moved, the deeper their bodies sank into the quicksand. Slowly, the quicksand had sunk up to the waist of the stone guardians. A large group of zombies rushed over and gradually submerged the two stone guardians. At the same time, Xia Pingon was madly running through the wilderness. He hid in the gray fog and rushed towards the barracks from the side at his fastest speed. All the zombies and beetles in the wilderness were distracted by the two stone guardians. Thus, they didn't notice Xia Pingon and didn't expect him to suddenly attack the barracks from the side. When the stone guardians were submerged by the zombies, Xia Pingon had already approached the edge of the barracks. The huge flaming Vajra stood in front of him like a towering mountain peak in a skyscraper. It stood firmly in the middle of the barracks and no longer had the terrifying aura it had during the day. The barracks was extremely simple and crude. The barracks were surrounded by fences and walls made of branches and stones. The ground of the barracks was full of pits and pits. Those pits were the hiding places of some green-skinned zombies. Xia Pingon rushed to the foot of the flaming Vajra. Two green-skinned zombies suddenly drilled out from the side and stood in front of Xia Pingon. The two green-skinned zombies didn't expect someone to rush into the barracks. Their eyes widened and they were about to shout. This time, there was no way to dodge. Xia Pingon abruptly accelerated. Without saying a word, he slashed out his soaring-on sword and directly chopped off the heads of the two green-skinned zombies. Xia Pingon didn't wait for the two flying heads to fall to the ground, nor did he wait for the soul power from the two zombies to fuse into his body. He leapt up and landed on the instep of the blazing gorilla's several meters tall feet. He used his hands and feet to climb up the blazing gorilla's calves, thighs, and torso at the fastest speed possible. He rushed towards the blazing gorilla's head. The flaming Vajra's body was not completely smooth. Instead, it had a complex metal block structure and a few gaps that could be used as leverage. In less than a minute, Xia Pingon had rushed to the top of the flaming Vajra's head. He stepped on its nose and stood between its eyes. Xia Pingon followed Elder Mu's instructions and pressed his hand between the flaming Vajra's eyebrows. A metal block between the flaming Vajra's eyebrows suddenly slid away from the side, revealing the soul stone inside. The soul stone of the flaming Vajra was the size of a pumpkin. It was a hexagonal snow-white crystal. At this moment, there was a trace of black mist entwining in the soul stone. Xia Pingon pressed on the soul stone, gritted his teeth, and frantically injected his soul power into the soul stone of the flaming Vajra. Only then did the two golden light spots in the air slowly fly up from below and be absorbed by Xia Pingon. They were the soul power of the two green-skinned zombies just now. At this time, in the distant wilderness, Xia Pingon saw that the necks of the two stone protectors had completely sunk into the quicksand. One of the stone protectors' head was riddled with scars as a green corpse puppet pierced its head with a sharp spike. With a loud bang, its entire body turned into fragments and scattered everywhere. It had been killed. Suddenly, a green-skinned zombie below the barracks pointed at the head of the flaming Vajra and screamed. The ear-piercing scream resounded throughout the barracks. Xia Pingon had been discovered. The entire barracks was alarmed. Even the zombies and insect monsters in the distant wilderness turned their heads and looked at the flaming Vajra. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 slashes of soul power were injected into the soul stone of the flaming Vajra. The soul stone of the flaming Vajra emitted a brilliant white light, like an incandescent lamp. The white light immediately illuminated Xia Pingon's figure in the sky. Under the impact of Xia Pingon's soul power, the black gas in the soul stone was like ink being washed by clear water, becoming much lighter all of a sudden. Xiao Pingon could even see some black gas being squeezed out of the soul stone and dissipating into smoke. Roar! An angry roar echoed in Xiao Pingon's ears as a horseshoe insect flew into the air from the camp. The horseshoe insect was furious as it stared at Xiao Pingon with its blood-red eyes. It pointed at Xiao Pingon, and suddenly hundreds of arrows condensed in the air and shot towards Xiao Pingon. Xiao Pingon looked at the horseshoe insect that was flying towards him. At this time, if Xiao Pingon gave up on injecting his soul power into the soul stone of the flaming Vajra, he could avoid it at once. But after glancing at the soul stone, Xiao Pingon gritted his teeth. He grabbed the soul stone with one hand and continued to inject his soul power into it. His other hand held the soaring edge sword and danced in front of him. The sword light of the soaring edge sword turned into a screen. In a series of clanking sounds, it directly cut down the hundreds of arrows shot by the horseshoe insect monster. One of Xiao Pingon's hands was numb from the shock. At this time, he realized that the arrows shot by the insect monster were completely condensed out of thin air, and they were real, not just a simple spell. The arrows that were cut down by his flying light directly fell from the sky. Seeing that this move did not force Xiao Pingon away, and that Xiao Pingon was still inputting soul power into the soul stone of the flaming Vajra, the horseshoe insect monster became anxious. It roared in the void, and its whole body suddenly turned into a huge, fiery red horseshoe insect with a length of tens of meters. It opened its huge mouth, revealing its ferocious sharp teeth, and rushed towards Xiao Pingon. It seemed to want to open its huge mouth and swallow Xiao Pingon. Demon Slaying Sword. The soaring edge in Xiao Pingon's hand turned into a ray of blue light, and suddenly became 10 times bigger. It stood in front of Xiao Pingon to protect him, and slashed towards the horseshoe insect head that was coming at him. The horseshoe insect raised its head, and its tail slammed towards the demon slaying sword, colliding in front of Xiao Pingon with a loud bang. The fiery red horseshoe insect flew backwards, its tail dripping with blood, and many scales fell from the sky. Xiao Pingon's demon slaying sword had been neutralized by the horseshoe insect. Not only that, the soaring edge that flew out from Xiao Pingon's hand was caught by the horseshoe insect's 2 claws. Soaring edge trembled and struggled, but it could not fly back. Xiao Pingon's expression changed. At this time, several other horseshoe insect monsters quickly flew over. "Your Majesty, quickly retreat." Elder Mu's anxious roar came from Sai Sai's direction. The stronghold's protective shield disappeared again, and this time, hundreds of stone protectors rushed out of the stronghold. Elder Mu could not care less. Elder Mu stood on top of the fortress's gate tower and watched the battle nervously. When Xiao Pingon was discovered by the first horseshoe insect monster, the battle had taken a turn for the worse. It was very unfavorable for Xiao Pingon. Those evolved horseshoe insects were very powerful and did not lose to Xiao Pingon at all. What's more, Xiao Pingon was still holding the blazing Vajra's soul stone in one hand. While pouring soul power into the blazing Vajra's soul stone, he still had to fight those evolved horseshoe insects. The horseshoe insect monsters that rushed over suddenly increased to 4. Xiao Pingon was completely surrounded, and he even lost soaring edge in his hand. The situation was critical. Xiao Pingon glanced at the soul stone, and the black gas in the soul stone faded a little. He gritted his teeth and frantically injected his soul power, but he did not withdraw. A ferocious horseshoe insect monster suddenly appeared in front of Xiao Pingon. With a wave of its hand, a pitch-black spear appeared in its hand. The spear directly stabbed at Xiao Pingon's heart. Xiao Pingon grabbed the spear head with one hand and twisted it with one hand, directly breaking the spear shaft. The spear shaft without the spearhead was still sharp, but the direction was changed, and it fiercely stabbed Xiao Pingon's right shoulder. The spear shaft pierced through Xiao Pingon's shoulder and hit the nose of the blazing Vajra behind Xiao Pingon with a bang. The blood on Xiao Pingon's body spilled directly on the blazing Vajra's head and face, and on the soul stone of the blazing Vajra. The blazing Vajra was motionless, But Xia Pingon once again felt the breath of death. Death was close at hand, and the tongue of the Grim Reaper had turned into a scorching flame that licked his body. His clothes and hair began to burn. That was the third horseshoe insect monster. This horseshoe insect monster directly burned itself with terrifying flames and rushed towards Xia Pingon, wanting to surround Xia Pingon and turn Xia Pingon into ashes. Go to hell. Xia Pingon was also ruthless, and a stubborn and fierce aura surged from his heart. Looking at the third horseshoe insect monster that rushed in front of him, Xia Pingon did not retreat half a step. While continuing to inject the soul power in his body into the soul stone of the blazing Vajra, he held half of the spear in his hand and stabbed at the head of the horseshoe insect monster that looked like it had just walked out of a steel furnace. Xia Pingon's entire arm was burning, but the spearhead still firmly pierced into the head of the horseshoe insect monster. At the same time, the horseshoe insect monster also rushed over fearlessly and surrounded Xia Pingon all of a sudden. At this moment, the head of the blazing Vajra was like a torch on a tower in the wilderness, burning fiercely and illuminating the entire night sky. Seeing this scene, Elder Mu on the fortress wall felt a chill in his heart. Chapter 450. The head of the flaming guardian Vajra was engulfed in raging flames. At this moment, 1 second felt like 10,000 years to Elder Mu. Only 10 seconds later, the burning horseshoe insect monster flew away, and Xia Pingon was nowhere to be seen at the head of the flaming guardian Vajra. The horseshoe insect monster that flew away stumbled. Just now, the broken spear in Xia Pingon's hand had pierced through its head. Its head was already seriously injured, and it almost fell from the sky. It staggered and landed on one of the flaming guardian Vajra's fingers. The metal spearhead had been inserted into the horseshoe insect monster's head. Under the flames, just now, the metal spearhead had already melted, turning into blood-red liquid that sprinkled down from the sky. The zombies around the barracks began to cheer. Hundreds of horseshoe insects flew down from the sky, and all of them rushed to the vicinity of the flaming guardian Vajra, circling in the sky. Although the battle with Xia Pingon just now was short, every second was fierce and dangerous. That battle also attracted the horseshoe insects that had flown into the sky. The stone puppets that had just rushed out of the stronghold had already stopped and were waiting for Elder Mu's orders. Elder Mu's heart trembled because the last scene he had just seen was Xia Pingon's entire body disappearing in the flames. Could it be that he had been burned to ashes? No. Elder Mu's gaze immediately fell on the forehead of the flaming guardian Vajra. That position was now completely sealed. The soul stone of the flaming guardian Vajra could no longer be seen. It had once again disappeared into the brain of the flaming guardian Vajra, and a mysterious flame-like rune vaguely appeared between its eyebrows. Could it be that Elder Mu had suddenly thought of a possibility? The flaming guardian Vajra, standing in the wasteland, was motionless at this moment, like a silent mountain. Just as the zombies and horseshoe insects were cheering, the eyes of the silent flaming guardian Vajra lit up slightly, and one of its fingers trembled slightly. Xia Pingon thought that he was already dead and had been burned to ashes, but after a brief moment of darkness, he opened his eyes again and saw countless zombies cheering on the ground. In front of him, there were hundreds of horseshoe insects and horseshoe insect monsters flying around. These originally ferocious and ugly monsters, at this moment, had become incomparably small, like flies and toys. The horseshoe insect monster that had been stabbed in the head by Zhang Tai's spearhead was now resting on the finger of Zhang Tai's right hand. It was eating something as if it was healing itself. The wound on the horseshoe insect monster's head was gradually shrinking. The stronghold in the distance didn't seem that tall anymore. Xia Pingon could even easily see Elder Mu standing on the stronghold's walls. Elder Mu had a bewildered expression as he looked at Xia Pingon. A group of stone guardians stood on the wasteland. They looked like pawns on a chessboard and were extremely adorable. Everything around him had changed. Everything seemed so small and fragile. Those dangerous and powerful things from before seemed like a joke now. Some information flows flashed through his mind and merged with Xia Pingan's consciousness. After that, Xia Pingan realized that he seemed to have become the Flaming King Kong. His perspective, body, and feelings seemed to have integrated with the Flaming King Kong. What's going on? Xia Pingan was dumbfounded for a few seconds. Then, he discovered that the zombies and horseshoe insects around him seemed to be looking at him. They seemed to have discovered that the Flaming King Kong's finger was trembling, and their eyes lit up. The zombies on the ground raised their heads and looked at Zhang Tai in astonishment. The horseshoe insects and horseshoe insects around him seemed to have been startled. A few horseshoe insects that were flying close to him seemed to have been startled by something and hurriedly retreated, creating some distance between them. The horseshoe insect monster that had stopped on his finger also raised its head. It seemed to have sensed something and wanted to fly away. These stinky insects! How could Xia Pingan let that horseshoe insect monster fly away? He only moved his fingers and pinched it with 2 fingers. That horseshoe insect monster was like a small insect being pinched by a huge warrior wearing metal armor and metal gloves. It couldn't move at all. Xia Pingan raised his hand and looked at the horseshoe insect monster in front of his eyes. His perspective was different. Everything changed. The ferocious horseshoe insect monster was now as small as a caterpillar in Xia Pingan's eyes. Its entire body was not even as big as his finger. The horseshoe insect monster struggled with all its might. Its struggling strength was as weak as a goshawk's. Then, the horseshoe insect monster's body began to burn again, releasing raging flames and high temperatures. Xia Pingan also felt the heat from the horseshoe insect monster's body. However, that heat to him was like wearing a glove to touch a thermos that had just been filled with hot water. It was more like picking up a small piece of charcoal that was still warm from the ashes of a brazier. Xia Pingan's 2 fingers exerted a little force. It was like crushing a ball of sand that had been soaked in water. Pung! The horseshoe insect monster between his fingers exploded. Its entire body turned into powder. Its flesh, blood, tendons, and bones all turned into dregs in the blink of an eye. This horseshoe insect monster was so awesome just now, but it didn't seem like much now. It was too weak. A golden light flew out from the horseshoe insect monster's body and entered between his eyebrows. Soul power. Soul power increased explosively. Awesome. All of a sudden, Xia Pingan's spirit was roused. The explosive increase in soul force caused Xia Pingan's entire being to be immersed in an extremely pleasurable experience. That kind of feeling couldn't be described with just the word pleasurable. It was simply akin to ascending to immortality, causing one to become addicted. The horseshoe insect monster that was crushed finally scared the other horseshoe insects flying in the air away. The large group of zombies on the ground also screamed and wanted to run away. Xia Pingan lifted his foot and stomped on the ground without hesitation. Rumble! As the earth shook, Xia Pingan's foot stomped down. Because he did not control his strength well, Xia Pingan's stomp directly created a huge crater that was several thousand square meters in size and more than 10 meters deep. The hundreds of zombies under his foot did not even make a sound and were all turned into dregs. This stomp was too deep, causing Xia Pingan to stagger. One foot was low and the other was high. He almost knelt down. Fortunately, his body was abnormally agile, and he quickly stabilized himself. Countless specks of light flew up from the bottom of his foot and entered between his eyebrows little by little. Soul power again. Although the soul power of one zombie was not much and could not be compared to the horseshoe insects and horseshoe insects, it could not withstand the number of zombies. Once the soul power of hundreds of zombies entered between his eyebrows, Xia Pingan felt his soul power increase again. Xia Pingan lowered his head and looked. The zombies in the barracks began to flee in fear. How could Xia Pingan let these cute little zombies escape from right under his nose? He quickly lifted the foot that had sunk into the deep pit. When his foot landed on the ground, he stomped several dozen zombies into dregs and turned them into soul power that entered the space between his eyebrows. His second foot stomped out again, aiming for the place where the zombies were the densest and the densest. This time, the control of his strength was very good. With one stomp, his foot only sank a few meters into the ground. The ground trembled and hundreds of zombies turned into dregs, turning into countless soul power dots that rushed towards Xiaoping's forehead. This efficiency was too high. Xiaoping almost wanted to laugh out loud. In front of him, there were several annoying black dots flying around his head. These were the other horseshoe insects. A horseshoe insect danced in the air. With a wave of its hand, countless burning arrows and flames flew towards Xiaoping's head. In an instant, all of them hit Xiaoping's head. However, this kind of attack, to Xiaoping, was like the wind carrying some warm sand that had been exposed to the sun. It was useless and could not hurt him at all. There was another horseshoe insect that was even more annoying. It directly flew around between Xiaoping's eyebrows and stood on top of Xiaoping's head. It actually wanted to move the metal piece outside of the soul stone between Xiaoping's eyebrows. How could this be? Mother of Asterisker, this little stinking insect, is actually trying to take advantage of me. Xiaoping was furious. His entire head suddenly burned with raging flames. The color of the flames was snow white with a hint of blue light. The temperature was terrifyingly high. It was on a completely different level from the flames on the horseshoe insect. The horseshoe insect that flew between Xiaoping's eyebrows only had time to scream in the flames before it was burned to ashes and fell from the sky. Its soul power once again entered between Xiaoping's eyebrows and was absorbed by Xiaoping. Xiaoping's left hand suddenly grabbed out, bringing a gust of wind in the air. The horseshoe insect that had just shot out countless flame arrows wanted to escape, but it was not faster than the speed of Xiaoping's left hand. Xiaoping caught the horseshoe insect and squeezed it lightly. The horseshoe insect's soul power once again rushed towards Xiaoping's eyebrows. Xiaoping's right hand was not idle either. He grabbed towards the sky beside him, and 3 or 4 horseshoe insects that did not have time to escape were caught by Xiaoping and directly squeezed to death. The soul power of the crushed horseshoe insects also rushed towards Xiaoping. In the barracks on the ground, Xiaoping directly lifted his big foot and stomped on the zombies that were fleeing on the ground. There was no other way. There were too many zombies in the barracks, and they were very concentrated. Xiaoping's stomp caused the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. Thousands of square meters of ground directly collapsed. Every step he took, dozens of zombies at least, and hundreds at most, were instantly turned into dregs. Any resistance was a joke. The huge barracks under Xiaoping's feet was like something built by children playing house on the beach. With a few stomps, it was already a mess. The masks were all gone, and it was impossible to see its original appearance. The green-skinned zombies that were previously hidden in the barracks' underground holes were also annihilated in an instant. They did not even know what had happened before they were turned into dregs and contributed their soul power to Xiaoping without reservation. No horseshoe insect monster, no horseshoe insect, and no zombie could have imagined that the blazing guardian standing in the barracks would actually start a massacre in the blink of an eye. Once a body like the blazing guardian erupted in such a densely populated place, it was too terrifying. It was like a whale rushing into a group of shrimps. As long as it opened its mouth, it could devour countless creatures. Xiaoping's hands were constantly grabbing and waving in the air. One horseshoe insect after another was caught by Xiaoping's hands and crushed with a squeeze. There was no resistance at all because the strength of both sides was not on the same level. Seeing that the blazing guardian situation was completely out of control, the remaining horseshoe insect monsters saw that things were not going well and wanted to escape. One by one, the horseshoe insect monsters turned into brilliance and turned to fly away. The opportunity in front of him was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Xiaoping was having a great time absorbing the soul power. How could he let those horseshoe insect monsters slip away under his nose? After familiarizing himself with the blazing guardian's body for a while, Xiaoping was already getting more and more comfortable with it. Xiao Pingan reached out to grab a horseshoe insect monster, but he didn't manage to grab one. He got anxious, and something suddenly appeared in his mind. It was the secret technique of the Blazing Guardian. Looking at the horseshoe insect monsters that had already flown 1,000 away, Xiao Pingan stretched out his fist and waved it. A ball of blazing white flame flew out of his hand like a meteor and caught up with that horseshoe insect monster in the blink of an eye. It hit that horseshoe insect monster and turned it into ashes in the blink of an eye and fell down from the sky. The soul power of the horseshoe insect monster turned into a speck of golden light and flew towards Xiao Pingan. As Xiao Pingan's hands danced, flaming meteors constantly flew out of his hand. Those horseshoe insect monsters that had already flown far away. The furthest they flew was 7,000 or 8,000 meters away, but the flaming meteors caught up with them in the blink of an eye. No matter how the horseshoe insect monsters changed their figures and flight trajectories in the air, no matter what secret techniques they used to blast the flaming meteors still caught up with them easily, as always, and turned them into ashes in the air. None of the horseshoe insect monsters escaped. Those that tried to escape were all turned into slag and ashes by the flaming meteors. Strong. Too strong. This was how Xiao Pingan felt about the Blazing Guardian's body. The Blazing Guardian's soul stone had been contaminated by demonic chi before and only had the simplest instincts left to attack the fortress. However, it also brought great shock and destruction to the fortress. In fact, the Blazing Guardian's ability was far more than that. After exterminating all the horseshoe insects, the entire camp had changed beyond recognition. All the corpses were fleeing in all directions in the wilderness. A few mysterious runes and halos flashed across Xiao Pingan's feet. He stamped his feet fiercely and stomped his feet on the ground. This stomp was completely different from the previous stomps. A ripple rapidly spread out from the ground, causing the ground to undulate like a wave. Amidst the undulations, the ground within a radius of 10,000 meters began to tremble. As the zombies screamed, sharp spikes emerged from the ground and pierced all the zombies that were fleeing. With just this move, almost all the zombies that were fleeing, numbering in the thousands, were annihilated. In the next second, a flaming longsword appeared in Xiao Pingan's hand. The longsword was over 100 meters long. He waved the longsword in the air, and more than 10 horseshoe insects were directly chopped into ashes and fell from the sky. The horseshoe insects also began to flee in all directions like birds startled by the twang of a bow. The flaming longsword flew out of Xiao Pingan's hand and transformed into the slaying horseshoe sword. It opened and closed in the air like a dragon and lightning, chasing after the horseshoe insects and killing them. Xiao Pingan's entire body ignited with blazing white flames. He brandished his fists, and balls of flaming meteors flew out from his hands, catching up to the horseshoe beetles and turning them into ashes. Some of the horseshoe insects that were absorbing the astral souls in the sky were also summoned by the Blazing Guardian and easily crushed. Wherever the flaming guardian Vajra's line of sight was, it was invincible. All demons and monsters were killed by the flaming guardian Vajra. Xiao Pingan was in high spirits. He strode through the wilderness and chased after the horseshoe insects. He killed his way to the brightest galaxy in the sky. Elder Mu stood on top of the stronghold and stared blankly at the scene in the distant wilderness. The huge blazing guardian was like a god of war and a giant guarding the wilderness and sky. The blazing guardian's body flashed with blazing white flames. The flames formed 2 huge wings behind the blazing guardian like an angel, burning the entire wilderness and sky. The blazing guardian held the flaming longsword in its hand, and the horseshoe insects fell like ashes. From time to time, specks of golden soul power would fuse into the blazing guardian's forehead from all directions. He's back, he's back. The spirit shepherd is really back. Elder Mu muttered to himself. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. The tears that flowed down his face turned into specks of brilliance and dissipated on top of the stronghold. There's an update today. Chapter 451. The sky above the stronghold was clear again, and the astral spirits were shining brightly in the sky. There were no horseshoe crabs, no nightmares, no pain, and no struggle. Everything seemed so tranquil and beautiful. Only a thin layer of mist drifted on the ground, covering up the desolation and ugliness on the ground. The whole world was like a fairy tale world. Elder Moose stood on the wall of the stronghold, looking at everything in front of him with nostalgia and emotion. After an unknown period of time, the astral spirits woke up one by one as the sky gradually brightened. The sky of the spiritual realm gradually became clear again, and the ground returned to its original appearance. However, not a single zombie or horseshoe crabs could be seen in the barracks in the distance. The ground trembled slightly as the huge figure of the blazing guardian ran on the ground in the direction of the stronghold. Every step it took covered hundreds of meters. The tall figure, which had been dozens of kilometers away a moment ago, had already reached the wilderness outside the stronghold. It then slowed down. At this moment, the blazing guardian was like a sword that had been reborn from the fire. Its entire body was shining with a layer of pure metallic silver light. Compared to last night, it was as if it had been reborn. There were no longer any traces left by the passage of time. Seeing that the blazing guardian had returned, Elder Moo went down from the gate tower of the stronghold, removed the protective shield of the stronghold, and walked out of the gate of the stronghold. He came to the wilderness with all the stone guards and lined up outside the stronghold to welcome Xia Pingon. The huge blazing guardian came to Elder Moo with an oppressive aura, knelt down, and opened its mouth. Xia Pingon walked out of the huge mouth of the blazing guardian. The blazing guardian stretched out a hand and let Xia Pingon walk onto it. Then, it gently placed its hand on the ground. Xia Pingon walked down from the huge palm of the blazing guardian and finally landed on the ground. The blazing guardian closed its mouth again, and its huge figure turned into a ray of light and landed on Xia Pingon. The blazing guardian disappeared, and a silver necklace of the blazing guardian appeared on Xia Pingon's neck. "Congratulations on your victory, Your Majesty. Return to the stronghold," Elder Moose said to Xia Pingon. The stone guards all raised their weapons to welcome Xia Pingon back. "Elder Moo, to be honest, I still haven't figured out what happened." Xia Pingon touched the silver necklace on his neck and felt that everything in the spiritual realm was too magical. "At that time, I felt that I might be killed and burned to ashes, but in the blink of an eye, my vision turned black and I didn't know what happened. By the time I reacted, I had already merged with the blazing guardian. I don't know what happened either. That was because Your Majesty had already removed the demonic aura from the blazing guardian soul stone, and the blazing guardian had already recovered. Because the soul stone was stained with the blood of Your Majesty's spiritual body, the recovered blazing guardian directly merged with Your Majesty at the critical moment. I didn't expect that Your Majesty would have such an opportunity. The blazing guardian would usually only merge with existences above high-rank spirit herders. When Your Majesty merged with it, you were only a low-rank spirit herder. This is the will of the heavens. Your Majesty is the one chosen by the heavens to revitalize our spiritual realm," Elder Moo said with absolute certainty. Hearing Elder Moo's words, Xia Pingon also felt that this matter was somewhat inconceivable, but it also made sense. Everything was so magical. "By the way, Your Majesty, how much soul power do you have now?" Hearing Elder Moo's question, Xia Pingon remembered to check his soul power. After killing so many horseshoe mites and zombie puppets last night, he had absorbed too much soul power. Xia Pingon didn't even know how much soul power he had. It was only then that Xia Pingon discovered that at some point in time, his soul power had already condensed into a golden ball at the chest of his spirit body. It was lumpy and dazzling like a small sun at his chest. The ball of light rotated slowly in his chest, emitting a turbulent soul power aura. Compared to before, it was like heaven and earth. Xia Pingon was stunned for a moment, then looked at Elder Moo. "Elder Moo, all the soul power in my body has condensed into a golden ball of light in my chest. What's going on? When Elder Mu heard Xia Pingan's words, he didn't say anything. He just stretched out his hand and pressed it against Xia Pingan's chest, closed his eyes, and seemed to be feeling it. After a while, he opened his eyes. "Congratulations, Your Majesty. Your Majesty has now become an intermediate spirit herder. Moreover, Your Majesty's soul power is very strong, surpassing many ordinary intermediate spirit herders. In the future, Your Majesty will have an easier path to become an advanced spirit herder." He had finally become an intermediate spirit herder. Thinking that he could learn and master new spirit herder skills after becoming an intermediate spirit herder, Xia Pingan suddenly became excited. "Then can I learn new skills now?" "Yes, Your Majesty can now learn new spirit herder skills. If Your Majesty wants to learn, please come with me." After the two chatted for a while, Elder Mu turned around and brought Xia Pingan back to the stronghold. After returning to the stronghold, Elder Mu directly brought Xia Pingan to the Spirit Herding Palace. On the second floor of the Spirit Herding Palace, Xia Pingan saw 3 black stone tablets again. On one of the 3 black stone tablets was written Spiritual Shield Technique, which was a secret method to form a shield with soul power to protect oneself. In the spiritual realm, Spiritual Shield Technique could form a soul power barrier and shield in the depths of one's consciousness and brain to protect one's consciousness and brain from being invaded. This Spiritual Shield Technique could also be used in the real world. It was a secret method to protect one's soul. On the second stone tablet was written Elementary Materialization Technique, which could only be used in the spiritual realm. This secret method was a bit like the dream creation technique and the summoning technique. Whatever one thought in one's mind power could form something in the spiritual realm. Previously, when Xia Pingan was attacked by those horseshoe insect monsters, they attacked Xia Pingan with materialization technique. As soon as those horseshoe insect monsters thought of swords, spears, and arrows, those swords, spears, and arrows would appear in their minds. Of course, elementary materialization couldn't materialize everything. Elementary materialization couldn't materialize any living things. Elementary materialization could only materialize some ordinary weapons and tools in the spirit realm. It could also control the weather in a small area. On the third stone tablet was the spiritual realm's flight technique. Finally, he could fly. Seeing the flight technique, Xia Pingan let out a long sigh of relief. Placing his hand on the stone tablet, Xia Pingan easily learned the 3 secret methods. Then, Elder Mu brought Xia Pingan to the Sacred Soul Palace. Elder Mu said that intermediate spirit herders could learn a secret method that was even more bizarre and powerful than the soul refining technique, doppelganger technique. Chapter 452. The grand and solemn Sacred Soul Palace was empty. Only Xia Pingan and Elder Mu were standing under the dome of the palace. A golden steel gushed out from the underground of the palace. Right in front of the two, there were 4 words on the steel, doppelganger technique. A palm-sized groove was right below the 4 words. To be honest, seeing such a secret method, Xia Pingan was not only excited, but also shocked. This was because he didn't expect the spiritual realm to have such a secret method. Xia Pingan had never heard of such a secret method. Elder Mu, what kind of doppelganger can I have after learning this secret method? Isn't my current spiritual body a doppelganger? Xia Pingan didn't rush to put his palm into the groove of the steel. Instead, he frowned slightly and asked, "Your Majesty, spiritual bodies and doppelganger are not the same thing. In the worldview of the spiritual realm, everything in the material world is just an extension of the spiritual realm, including Your Majesty's body in the material world. That body is just a tool for the spiritual body to walk in the material world. It's a raft for the spiritual body to pass through different stars and worlds. It's also your armor and clothes. The reason why this doppelganger secret method is placed in the Sacred Soul Palace is that it's a high-level application of spiritual body and soul power. After mastering this secret method, your Majesty can have more tools and bodies to walk in different worlds. Hearing Elder Mu's words, two words suddenly appeared in Xia Ping'an's mind: possession. This made Xia Ping'an's heart skip a beat. According to the worldview of the spiritual realm, spiritual bodies were dominant and fundamental. The physical body was just a body in clothes. Since it was a body in clothes, it could naturally be changed frequently. You mean, after mastering this secret method, I can take over other people's bodies for my own use? If this mystic technique was the same as possession, Xia Ping'an was somewhat against it. Mystic techniques were neither good nor evil. This was a manifestation of the application of laws and rules. However, humans were both good and evil. Xia Ping'an found it hard to accept possession. Elder Mu looked at Xia Ping'an with a deep gaze. Your Majesty, since ancient times, people in the spiritual realm who have mastered this kind of secret method have seized other people's bodies, but it's very rare. The consequences of seizing another person's body are extremely serious. The lightest consequence is a backlash, mental disorder, and complete madness. In the worst case, one will be punished by the heavenly Tao and be struck by lightning, destroying one's body and soul. The doppelganger's secret method that we've mastered follows a commandment and law passed down from ancient times, which is not to seize another person's body. If it doesn't plunder the bodies of other living beings, how can this secret technique possess a body in the material world? If a person dies in his sleep, the body he leaves behind in the material world will be ownerless and will turn into dust. According to the laws of the spiritual realm, the ownerless body can be used by us and become our doppelganger. Elder Mu, are you saying that this secret method can take over the body of a dead person? Yes, as long as that person dies in his sleep within 6 hours, we can become the owner of that body again. Elder Mu explained with a deep look in his eyes. In fact, in the early days of the spiritual realm, this doppelganger technique was just a method for people in the spiritual realm to experience different material worlds. We use different doppelgangers to travel to different worlds and experience the wonders of different worlds, enriching our life experiences. This secret method has no evil meaning at all. Xia Ping'an immediately grasped a key piece of information from Elder Mu's words, which shocked him. Elder Mu, you're saying that this secret method can allow us to travel to different material worlds through the spiritual realm? That is to say, this secret method is not limited to the world where my physical body is? Of course, if this secret method is only limited to one world, then why do we need different doppelgangers? Elder Mu nodded. After learning this secret method, as long as your spirit body goes to different places in the spiritual realm, you can find a doppelganger in the corresponding material world of the spiritual realm and create a new life experience. Xia Ping'an was stunned. If that was the case, didn't it mean that he was in the corresponding spiritual realm of Earth? So, he could use this doppelganger technique to find a doppelganger on Earth and return to Earth, the Great Yin Republic, and see Xiaoning, Old Tu, Mo Yin Xiao, and the others again. The space passage between Earth and the Yuanxia world was sealed, but the connection to the spiritual realm was still there. This doppelganger technique was the Trojan horse and backdoor from the spiritual realm to the material world. Xia Ping'an was suddenly excited. He felt his heart throbbing violently because he had thought of many possibilities in an instant. This made his mind a little muddled. Xia Ping'an took a deep breath, suppressed his excitement, and asked, Elder Mu, I'm a six-sun realm summoner now. If I have a doppelganger in the material world, will that doppelganger also be a six-sun realm summoner? Elder Mu smiled wisely and then asked, Your Majesty, do you think the secret mandala of summoner is attached to our spirit body or our physical body? Xia Ping'an was stunned. This was the simplest question, but it was probably a question that many summoners would never think of in their lifetime. Which body was the secret mandala attached to? Xia Ping'an thought about it and said uncertainly, I think it should be the physical body. If it's the physical body, then can the organs, tissues, and cells of the physical body accommodate the scale of the secret mandala, create a world in the physical body, and summon thousands of troops? If it's the physical body, why can't we find any traces of the existence of the secret mandala, even if we dissect the summoner's entire body? Why is it that some summoners are disabled, lose many of their organs, and even change their hearts, but it doesn't affect them from using the secret summoning technique? Elder Mu's question stumps Ya Pingon. If the secret mandala of a summoner is attached to our spirit body, then why can't I use the summoning technique now? Xia Pingon asked his own question. Because although the secret mandala is attached to our spirit body, it needs to borrow the power of the physical body and the material world to manifest. Xia Pingon's heart trembled. So Elder Mu smiled. So, if your Majesty is a Sixth Sun Realm summoner, then your Majesty's doppelganger is naturally a Sixth Sun Realm summoner. It's just that your Majesty's spirit body has used different bodies and tools to manifest the secret mandala in the material world. However, the doppelganger secret technique also has its limitations. What limitations? Your Majesty's spirit body is 100% compatible with your Majesty's original body in the material world. This compatibility allows your Majesty's original body to have 100% potential in the material world, and your physical attributes will also be top-notch. However, if it's a doppelganger, the compatibility between the spirit body and the doppelganger won't be as high as the original body. According to the compatibility, the doppelganger's physical attributes in the material world will vary. Those with a low compatibility will only be able to display less than 50% of the spirit body's physical attributes. Those with a high compatibility with the doppelganger will be able to achieve about 90% of the spirit body's physical attributes. This is also a flaw of the doppelganger's secret technique. Will this compatibility affect the release of the secret technique? No, it will only affect the physical attributes. Not every body can fully display the potential of the spirit body. Then it doesn't matter. Xia Pingon exhaled deeply. He took a step forward and directly placed his hand on the palm groove of the golden stone tablet. In an instant, all the information of the doppelganger secret technique surged into Xia Pingon's consciousness and merged with his spirit body. In just a moment, Xia Pingon grasped the doppelganger's secret technique. After learning the secret technique, Xia Pingon withdrew his hand, and the golden stone tablet slowly sank into the ground. Xia Pingon's eyes flickered, and he was eager to try. Your Majesty, do you want to try the doppelganger technique? Elder Mu asked. Xia Pingon nodded. Your Majesty has advanced to the Sixth Sun Realm. There will be a huge change in the secret mandala, and there will be an independent spirit world god palace. In the future, if your Majesty wants to enter the spirit world and this fortress, you can actually do it in your own spirit world god palace. How do I do it? Are there many empty high platforms in the square of His Majesty's spiritual realm immortal palace? Xiao Pingon was shocked. Yes. Therefore, as long as your Majesty passes through the arch passage of the spirit world, the projection of the same arch passage will appear on the platform in the plaza of the spirit world god palace. In the future, your Majesty can quickly enter and exit different spirit worlds from your secret mandala. I see. Xiao Pingon slapped his forehead. He finally understood why the plaza of his spirit world god palace was empty. It turned out that the platforms in the plaza were spatial passages that the spirit world god palace had reserved for him to enter and exit different spirit worlds. This meant that even if he left Immortal City in the future, he could easily return to the different spirit worlds that he had entered before. Only after a few minutes, Xiao Pingon had returned to the spiritual realm of the Immortal City through the Golden Arch Gate in the fortress. After that, he returned to the spiritual realm of the Immortal City through the Golden Arch Gate in the spiritual realm of the Immortal City. Everything was as Elder Mu had said. When he returned this time, a golden arched door suddenly appeared on a high platform in the square of the spirit world shrine. The golden arched door was exactly the same as the one he had used to enter the spirit world on Earth. The various patterns and stars on the arched door were exactly the same. It was just that the size of the arched door was smaller. This change greatly excited Xiao Pingon. Xia Pingon then left the secret mandala. In the secret chamber, Xia Pingon opened his eyes at once. If he wanted to use the doppelganger technique in the spiritual realm, there were conditions. The main body in the material realm had to be taken care of first. He had to use the secret technique of the doppelganger technique to let the main body enter the embryonic, breathing, divine stillness realm. He had to leave a powerful soul power protective barrier around the main body to prevent the main body from being taken over by other spirit bodies. Only then could the spirit body enter another body in the spiritual realm and create a doppelganger. When Xia Pingon was preparing to set up a barrier around his body, suddenly, there was a knock on the door and a voice that penetrated through the door outside the secret chamber. "May I ask if Brother Long lives here?" This voice was inexplicably familiar. It was Meng Ziki. Xia Pingon slightly frowned. "Why is he here?" Chapter 453. Brother Long. Is Brother Long here? "I am Meng Ziki." Bang, bang, bang. Meng Ziki's voice was reinforced with divine power and directly penetrated the formation outside the courtyard, echoing in the entire courtyard and the secret room. Hearing Meng Ziki's call outside the door, Xia Pingon could only temporarily put aside the cultivation of the doppelganger technique. He spread out his legs and got down from the stone bed. He came outside the secret room, crossed the courtyard, and opened the door. Meng Ziki was standing outside the door. Meng Ziki was wearing a blue magician robe and looked very confident. When he saw Xia Pingon appear, Meng Ziki was pleasantly surprised and revealed a warm smile. "Ha, Brother Long, you are indeed here. It's not easy to find you now. Brother Meng, why did you come to the immortal city?" Xia Pingon asked curiously. Meng Ziki spread out his hands and looked inside the door. "Ha, Brother Long won't let me stand here and talk, right? If Brother Long is having a rendezvous with a beauty, then I have come at a bad time. I will come to visit Brother Long another day." "What are you talking about? I'm the only one here. Brother Meng, please come in." Xia Pingon laughed and welcomed Meng Ziki in. He then closed the door. As soon as Meng Ziki entered the door, his eyes swept around. When he saw that everything in the courtyard was hazy and seemed to be real, he couldn't help but laugh. "Brother Long, this courtyard should be protected by a formation plate. Just now I was outside. I felt that the aura in this courtyard was unpredictable. It is different from ordinary courtyards. I have let Brother Meng see a joke. There is a formation plate in the courtyard. I usually live in this courtyard alone. This immortal city is not very peaceful. 2 days ago, a dumb insect flew into the city. In order to be safe, I made a formation plate to protect the courtyard." As Xia Pingon spoke, he stretched out his hand and pointed at the void in the courtyard. The entire courtyard returned to normal in an instant. There was no longer that hazy and illusory feeling. The formation plate was also temporarily sealed. Xia Pingon directly brought Meng Ziki to the pavilion in the courtyard and sat down. He then waved his hand and took out the wine, preserved fruits, peanuts, jerky, and other food that he had prepared in advance from his spatial equipment. He spread it on the table and was ready to entertain guests. To his summoner, it was convenient to have a spatial warehouse. Of course, some summoners would even summon a few maids and servants at this time to make it seem more ostentatious. They could even summon a few beauties. It was just that Xia Pingon was unable to summon those people at the moment, so he could only do this. "My humble home, Meng Zai home. There's nothing to entertain you. You are too polite, you are too polite. It is not easy to find you now." Meng Ziki smiled and didn't regard himself as an outsider. He directly stretched out his hand and picked up a few peanuts with his chopsticks and threw them into his mouth. "I arrived at Immortal City a few days ago. After asking around, I found out that Brother Long is very popular in Immortal City. You're very famous. After not seeing you for a few days, I didn't expect Brother Long to have become the sole master of Immortal City's Soul Tool Hall in Immortal City. You are busy every day in the Hall of Responsibility, helping others to refine soul tools. It is so enviable. What is there to be envious of? I'm just making a living. Xiao Pingan smiled modestly. I didn't expect Brother Meng to come to me. Senior Mingi let Brother Meng regain your freedom so quickly? Meng Ziki sighed. Senior Mingi is a man of his word. It's all thanks to Brother Long. After Senior Mingi obtained the divine artifact fragment from the land of the fallen gods, he removed the soul-stealing goo in my body as soon as he returned to Crouching Dragon Island, allowing me to regain my freedom. He didn't make things difficult for me. Wasn't there a huge change a few days ago? The entire god-slaying insect world was alarmed, and the island was also in a mess. Many insects went crazy, and everyone said that a true Saint Master was born. I don't know what that means. All right, I heard that joining the Wan Shun sect would allow one to fuse with the Saint Master El Pearl. Meng Ziki looked at Xia Pingan, and his eyes flickered with interest. Brother Long's talent is incomparable to mine. You must have gained something. Xia Pingan shook his head in shame. Don't mention it. I don't know what's going on with that Sacred Master's realm bead. I'm muddle-headed from fusing with it, and I don't have the slightest comprehension of it. It seems like I'll have to wait until the future to slowly comprehend the mysteries within it and gradually fuse with it. By the way, why did Brother Meng come to the Immortal City this time? The Immortal City is no longer the same as before. It is a bit dangerous, and many people have left the city. Meng Ziki smiled embarrassedly. Brother Long, aren't you a soul master? Ever since I learned of Brother Long's ability, I have always wanted to ask Brother Long for a favor. To be honest, I still don't have a soul weapon to protect myself. Now that the god-slaying insect world is in chaos, I want to find Brother Long and ask Brother Long to help me refine a soul weapon to protect myself. I hope Brother Long won't refuse. Brother Meng wants to refine a soul weapon? Yes, if you want to refine a soul weapon, you need a divided soul. I wonder if Brother Meng is ready. Before I met Senior Mingi, I had been cultivating my soul for several years and had eaten many soul-strengthening pills. I am ready. Oh, Brother Meng is ready. Meng Ziki looked at Xia Pingan and suddenly smiled. Brother Long, don't worry. I know the rules of a soul master. I came to ask Brother Long to help me refine a soul weapon this time, so I can't let Brother Long work for me in vain. This is a realm pearl that can summon top-quality beauties. Take it as a token of my appreciation. With Brother Long's status, you should have already integrated 2 realm pearls like this. As Meng Ziki spoke, he moved his hand and took out a brocade box. He opened the brocade box, placed it on the table, and pushed it in front of Xia Pingan. Beauties were special characters that summoners could summon. In terms of scarcity, they were even rarer than summoning giants. Xia Pingan looked at the realm pearl in the box. The realm pearl had 2 colors. There was a circle of peach blossom red light in the azure. There were 3 small words on the realm pearl. Wang Zhaojun. Damn, it's actually Wang Zhaojun. Xia Pingan's eyes lit up. Meng Ziki quietly observed Xia Pingan's expression. Seeing Xia Pingan's eyes light up, he couldn't help but say, this realm pearl of beauties doesn't have a soul crystal to complement it. Whether or not it can be integrated depends on luck, but the beauties this realm pearl of beauties can summon are all different. Moreover, they're the most generous and intelligent of them all. It can be said that this realm pearl of beauties is of the highest quality. I wonder if Brother Long is satisfied. Ha ha ha, Brother Meng is too polite, too polite. We are all friends, so there's no need to be so polite. You're making me feel embarrassed. As Xia Pingan spoke, he didn't hold back. He directly put the realm pearl into his space warehouse. What kind of soul weapon does Brother Meng want to refine? I want to refine a soul weapon longsword. Meng Ziki said and took out a domineering 2-handed sword. Brother Long, do you want to see it? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.